Chapter 451, Black Armors. As the king disappeared, the prime minister muttered to himself, so what if there is a prior engagement? It is not like they are married, these engagements can be cancelled. The prince of the heavenly eagle kingdom cannot just come on a fool's errand. After speaking with the Jessen kingdom's king, the prime minister had more or less confirmed the relations between the Jessen kingdom and the Qinhuang kingdom. Previously, he had thought the two were close, but now he knew that there was no intimate relations between the two kingdoms, alleviating a good amount of his fears. Jian Chen's commotion at the Huayun sect hadn't been mentioned to anyone outside the sect. If news that the patriarch of the sect had been forced out was revealed by any disciple, they would be expelled and punished severely. The Huayun sect had to protect their status within the Jessen kingdom and prevent the news of what happened from leaking at any costs. If someone were to find out that the fourth master of the Changyang clan had caused such trouble at the Huayun sect, the Huayun sect's prestige would collapse and their development would come to a standstill. At the same time, the Changyang clan would benefit from this and their prestige would raise at the same time as the Huayun sects plummeted. The two grand elders were not willing for this to happen at all. Jian Chen and Chang Wuji had already returned to the Changyang clan, but right now, only Chang Wuji, Changyang Ba, and Bai Yuntian knew what Jian Chen had done. They chose to remain silent on the matter, but were happy nonetheless. Who would have known that the incomparably strong Huayun sect would be dominated by their own child? Jian Chen's military might and success was something both of his parents were extremely proud of. Afterward, Jian Chen remained within the clan and didn't walk out often, choosing to spend his days by his mother's side, talking. Because the tiger cub had still not finished absorbing the heavenly resources, the cub remained in Jian Chen's room sleeping on his bed. The tiger cub was growing at an even faster rate. Jian Chen could sense a presence flowing from the tiger cub with a strength that was at the level of a Class 2 magical beast. As long as this progression continued, it would become a Class 3 magical beast within several days. Within Lore City in a luxurious inn, a red-robed man around the age of 27 sat by a table and drank some wine while his eyes glanced around the place idly. One of the waiters came by with a platter of steaming magical beast meat and gently set it on the table with a bow of her head. "Honored customer, your meal is here. Is there anything else you wish for?" When it came to this red-robed youth, all of the workers within the inn knew about him. That was because this youth had already lived within the inn for a month in their best room and ate their best foods. He had plenty of money and was quite well spoken. Sometimes, he would give gold coins as a reward, and after an entire month, the entire staff had already been given a considerable amount of money that was well worth an entire year's worth of pay. And so, every single worker in this inn considered this youth a god of wealth almost. With a wave of his hand, the waitress retreated back, allowing him to dig into his delicious meal with vigor. "Why is it that I cannot find Jian Chen? With his status and strength, he should be well known within Lore City. But, why is it that when I ask around, no one has heard of Jian Chen's name before? Could it be that Jian Chen isn't his real name?" The youth spoke to himself in a low voice. He had only been in Lore City for a month. After the ending of the gathering of the mercenaries, Jian Chen had given him instructions to find him in Lore City of the Jessen Kingdom. But what area in Lore City, he didn't know. It's time to wait then. Jian Chen should have exited the Holy Lands by now. If he comes from Mercenary City, it'll take him several months to get here if he doesn't use a space gate. The youth sighed before growing silent to dig back into his meal. At the same time, within the stronghold of the Jessen Kingdom, two middle-aged men came riding at a slow pace on top of two Class 3 magical beast mounts before seeing the rubble everywhere. One of the two males was around 40 years old with a bald head. He had an excellent physique that bulged with muscles. His appearance was so noticeable, it could be considered an attack on a person. The other person looked weaker than the first and wore a cyan-colored robe. His black hair was draped over his shoulder and he had a scholarly look to him. Both of his eyes glowed with a sharp look as well. "Yunzheng, take a look at that stronghold. That should be the Jessen Kingdom." The stronger-looking man pointed at the destroyed stronghold. Hearing this, Yunzheng took out a map from his space belt and gave it a look before nodding. That's right, according to the map, the Jesson Kingdom is right in front of us. Seeing how the stronghold is damaged like that, they must have just had a war. There's still a bloody stench in the air. The burly man let out a sigh. After half a year of traveling, we've finally reached the Jesson Kingdom. Let's not care about it and go find a city to rest up in. I haven't had any good meat in a long time. After eating, we can take it easy as we head to Lore City. Outside of Lore City, 5 men of varying ages wore rich-looking robes as they walked the path. Each one of them looked rather ordinary, but the auras they exuded were anything but. They even affected the merchants and mercenaries traveling on the same road as them so that the people subconsciously drew away from them as if they didn't dare get closer. From a distance, the walls to Lore City could already be seen. Luo Tian's hand held a gourd of wine, drinking it viciously as he walked. Then, he turned to the elder right next to him. Xiao Tian, Lore City is a first-class city with an equally large area. Where are we going to find the Imperial Protector? Xiao Tian shook his head. The Imperial Protector wasn't clear in his instructions. Let us wait for what happens afterward to see. Ah, is the Imperial Protector truly from the Jesson Kingdom? Why is such a strong person like the Imperial Protector so unknown within the Jesson Kingdom? This is far too outrageous. Qing Xiaofan spoke questioningly. I find this strange as well. With the strength of the Imperial Protector, the entire Jesson Kingdom should know about him. Instead, he is completely unknown. This is quite strange. Dongyi Junbai spoke. Xiao Tian looked at the others with a displeased look. That's enough. We are already on the main roads. There isn't a need to talk about such a topic. A question like this will be easily resolved later. Suddenly, the sounds of hooves could be heard trotting across the ground from behind as a large group of black armored soldiers came storming forward on their magical beast mounts. A single trail of smoke rose up above the ground as they traversed through the area. Banners could be seen hoisted in the air, causing every single merchant and mercenary to pale. That's the black armors. Quick, get out of the way. One of the merchants cried out in shock before forcing his carriage to the side to allow the force to ride past. Then, they each looked at the army as they blew past them with looks of confusion. The black armors are the strongest force that protects the imperial family. They rarely come out, so what's going on today for their entire force to assemble in such a frantic manner? Did something happen? Many of the mercenaries began to question. At that moment, the 5 imperial advisors walking up front turned around to look at the charging black armors. AI, isn't that the king of the Jesson Kingdom? Why is he running in such a hurry? Could he be looking for us? Luo Tian spoke with surprise. The black armors were moving at a high speed and quickly came close to the imperial advisors. At that moment, the leader of the black armors that was protecting the king of the Jesson Kingdom instantly realized who those 5 were. He immediately waved his hand and cried out, "Halt!" Instantly, the black armors stopped their charge, allowing the king time to dismount from his mount to quickly walk up to the 5 imperial advisors with a warm smile and bow. This one had no idea that we would come across the honored imperial advisors here. How coincidental. When the other black armors recognized who these experts were, they immediately bowed their heads in greeting as well. Your Majesty, seeing how rushed you are, has something happened? Dongyi Junbai spoke with a curious look. The king let out a smile. This might be unbelievable to the honored imperial advisors, but there is an exceptional expert within our Jesson Kingdom. Despite being so young, he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Just by himself, he was able to defeat 3 other Heaven Saint Masters without being damaged himself. Even this king is amazed at such a feat. Hearing this, each one of the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in surprise and amazement before Xiao Tian spoke. Your Majesty, who might this person be? He is the 4th master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. The king didn't hide anything at all and gave a bright smile. In his heart, he knew that with Changyang Xiangtian's talent, even the imperial advisors from the Qinhuang Kingdom would wish to bring him into their friendship. With the engagement from Changyang Xiangtian to his daughter and the connection with the Qinhuang kingdom, the Joseon kingdom would surely profit from this. It was very possible that Changyang Xiangtian would be able to bring the relationship between the two kingdoms to an even higher height. The fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. The 5 imperial advisors had made sure to remember that name. Immediately, the 5 of them agreed to follow the king to the Changyang clan. Against such a request, the king had no desire to deny them and agreed with a straightforward response. In his heart, he was overjoyed. Everything was going according to plan. Chapter 452, revealing his identity afterward, the 5 imperial advisors and the king of the Joseon kingdom entered Lore City, and made their through the streets before ultimately stopping right outside the gates to the Changyang clan. The black armors quickly cordoned the area and stood guard to protect the king. Although the 5 imperial advisors were here, making it impossible for harm to befall the king, the black armors still had a job to do. Standing right beside the king, the commander of the black armors, Bai Dao, stood with a stony expression as he looked at the Changyang clan. All sorts of feelings could be felt within his heart. He didn't know what to feel exactly after being told of the news by the king. The Changyang clan had long since heard that the king was coming. Therefore many of the higher-ranking members had already gathered by the gates. Even Changyang Ba and Chang Wuji were standing at the very front with the elders of the clan behind them. Jian Chen and the ants were right behind the elders. "We welcome His Majesty to our Changyang clan. His Majesty truly does bring grace to our clan." The leader of the clan, Changyang Ba, smiled while Chang Wuji stood by his side. Grabbing the present from one of the black armor's soldiers, the king handed it over to Changyang Ba and smiled. "This king hasn't been to Lore City in a long time. Since I had the time today, I decided to pay a visit. I do hope this king isn't interrupting anything." Changyang Ba let out a chuckle as he spoke a few words to the king before looking to the 5 imperial advisors right behind him with a startled look. Hurriedly, he bowed to them and spoke. "This one didn't think that the honored imperial advisors would come by as well. Our Changyang clan has neglected ourselves. Please come in." To the 5 imperial advisors, Changyang Ba's face grew even more prudent without daring to be impolite. Chang Wuji bowed to the 5 imperial advisors as well before speaking several polite words. Then, he invited the group enthusiastically into the clan. If the 5 imperial advisors were to stay as guests within the Changyang clan, it would be a tremendous honor for the Changyang clan. Even the guards and elders of the Changyang clan all grew excited and happy when they saw the imperial advisors come walking into the clan compound. Seeing how enthusiastic Changyang Ba and Chang Wuji were, the 5 imperial advisors didn't wish to look rude either. With happy smiles, they returned the polite greetings and spoke with words that were even more polite than the ones they had spoken back at the imperial palace. Afterward, the king and the other black armor soldiers around him followed the 5 imperial advisors past the gates. The king spoke in somewhat of a rush. "Changyang Ba, I've heard that Changyang Xiangtian has returned. Where might he be, and if possible, would this king be able to see him? Even though he is my future son-in-law, I've yet to see him still, ha ha ha." A faint smile could be seen on Changyang Ba's face while his heart seemed to glow brighter as he looked behind the elders to Jian Chen. "Xianger, come greet His Majesty. Perhaps, it would be more appropriate to call him father-in-law." Chang Wuji suddenly spoke with a smile. Hearing this, the king was startled for a moment before quickly letting out a smile while Changyang Ba showed a great big cheerful smile on his face. The dozen elders quickly made a path through them as the white-robed, handsome Jian Chen came striding forward to bow toward the king. With a small smile, he spoke with neither a servile nor overbearing voice. "Changyang Xiangtian pays his respect to His Majesty." Looking at Jian Chen with a serious expression, the king took notice of Jian Chen's short hair, his handsome appearance, and the perfect balance of his face that no one could complain about. All this was combined with a pale white skin that suited his appearance and caused many females to be jealous. Jian Chen was practically a walking killer of women. With his handsome and determined face, Jian Chen had clearly matured and did not look like a person that could be trifled with. Good. Very good. Seeing his future son-in-law, the king was pleased, and spoke only those 3 words. As a king, he had seen many people, but even he could tell that Jian Chen was by no means an everyday face. Hearing about him and seeing him in person were 2 different things. Now that he had met Jian Chen, his evaluation of him had instantly gone up. He is truly a dragon among men. The king sighed in admiration. By his side, Changyang Ba had a prideful smile for his son. When the 5 imperial advisors saw Jian Chen, they were shocked. Giving each other a look, they immediately strode forward and cupped their hands with them as they spoke. "We pay our respects to the imperial protector." When the 5 said, "Imperial protector," the faces of both Changyang Ba and the king of the Jessan kingdom instantly froze up. Blankly, they looked at how the 5 imperial advisors greeted Jian Chen and stood there without speaking for a long time. All of the elders and guards of the Changyang clan and the black armor soldiers protecting the king had the same expression on their faces as well. Each one stared at the 5 imperial advisors greeting Jian Chen with stupefied looks. Imperial protector. Just what reason are the 5 imperial advisors from the powerful Qinhuang kingdom calling Changyang Xiangtian imperial protector? The 3rd aunt Bai Yushuang spoke with surprise. In her heart, shock had completely washed over her. Jian Chen forced out a smile as he looked at Xiao Tian and the others. "I didn't think you would be able to find me so quickly." Qing Xiaofan looked around before letting out a small smile. "Honored imperial protector, I hope we did not cause any trouble for you." Jian Chen let out a small breath of air, but before he could speak, Changyang Ba's voice rang out first. "Xiang'er, just what exactly is happening?" Changyang Ba's voice trembled as he tried to hide the confusion in his words. Everyone had heard Changyang Xiangtian referred to as the imperial protector, but none of them could believe it. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called his own son an imperial protector. Could that possibly mean that the reason why the Qinhuang kingdom, specifically the 5 imperial advisors, had traveled countless of kilometers to provide assistance to the Jessan kingdom was because of his own son, Changyang Xiangtian? At that moment, Chang Wuji and the king regained their consciousness and looked at Jian Chen in shock while also waiting for his response. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before he spoke. "Father, we should speak about this in the hall." Changyang Ba snapped out of his shock as well and quashed the tremors in his heart. Quickly, he spoke. Yes, let us go to the hall." "Your Majesty, honored imperial advisors, please follow me inside." After speaking, the upper echelons of the Changyang clan, the king of the Jessan kingdom, and the 5 imperial advisors all walked into the hall. Jian Chen's mother and his 3 aunts originally didn't have any right to participate in this discussion. However, now that a connection between Jian Chen and the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed, they summoned their courage to join the conversation. Because there weren't enough chairs for everyone, the elders of the Changyang clan were the first to give up their seats. The elders standing to the side did not speak a single word, instead they stared at Jian Chen with looks of utter shock. In their minds, they couldn't help but think to what they had just heard. The 5 imperial advisors had unexpectedly called the 4th master Changyang Xiangtian their imperial protector. They could hardly believe such a thing had happened. Seeing how the elders refused to sit and instead stood by the side, Jian Chen took his mother and sat her down in a chair before sitting in the seat next to her. "Xiang'er, just what is going on? Are you truly the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom?" As soon as he sat down, Changyang Ba immediately spoke with the question that was raring to escape from his mouth. "That is correct, father. I have the status of being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom." Jian Chen spoke honestly. Now that the truth was out, Jian Chen saw no need to hide the facts. Changyang Ba's body began to tremble as his face started to twitch with emotion. He turned his head to the 5 imperial advisors as if looking for confirmation. The other men within the hall of the compound immediately grew silent at Jian Chen's words. Their eyes lost their light as they lost themselves in thought. The elders and Chang Wuji were especially affected as shock rode through their hearts. The mysterious imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had in truth been their very own clan member. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom let out smiles and nodded to verify Jian Chen's words. Among the entire group, the king of the Jessan kingdom was the most astounded and unbelieving. At first, the identity of the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been a mystery to him. It had left him struggling to figure out what the actual connection between the Jessan and the Qinhuang kingdom was, and if it was possible to climb relations with them as if they were a tree. For the sake of thinking about such a thing, he had racked his mind trying to think of a way to no avail. He never would have thought that the result would be so theatrical. After expending so much effort, the imperial protector he wanted to curry favor with was actually his very own son-in-law. With such a result, the king of the Jessan kingdom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Dear son-in-law, you have surprised your entire family." The king forced a small smile on his face, but knowing that Jian Chen was the imperial protector caused him to be incredibly happy. He also started to speak to him with a different tone. Chang Wuji let out a sigh before speaking gratefully to Jian Chen, "Fourth master, this one had no idea that you had such an important status. Our Changyang clan will definitely shine brighter because of you." Now that Jian Chen's identity had been revealed to the entire upper echelons of the Changyang clan, everyone looked at Jian Chen in a new light. Being the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was more than enough to completely quash a king of a small kingdom like the Jessan kingdom. Chapter 453, Child of the Bai clan. Everyone began to talk to each other after learning of such information. Now that the 5 imperial advisors knew the true identity of the imperial protector, they began to treat the Changyang clan with a politeness unlike the previous noble demeanor they had used before. The 5 of them had an attitude that made the entire Changyang clan feel honored, causing the clan members' faces to light up as an indicator of their feelings. Because of their connection to Jian Chen, the Changyang clan instantly leaped over the dragon's gate and transformed into the mighty dragon. The king of the Jessan kingdom was now the lowest-ranking group in terms of power among the people present. However, the king paid no attention to the ranking at all and was instead very happy. He could swear that in his entire life, he had never been as happy as he was now. Everyone continued to speak for some time before a banquet was prepared. Afterward, Changyang Ba invited everyone to a delicious meal. "Xiang'er, follow your father now." Changyang Ba began to pull at Jian Chen's hands as they walked out. Jian Chen could sense that his father's hands were shaking a little. After the banquet had been prepared in the spacious hall, the most outstanding maids gathered and began to prepare several seats around the tables. The 5 imperial advisors from the Qinhuang kingdom, the king of the Jessan kingdom, the leader of the Changyang clan, Chang Wuji, Jian Chen and his mother Bai Yuntian were all seated at the same table. This arrangement had been formed after a discussion between the high-ranking elders of the Changyang clan. Although Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian were not at the very top of the hierarchy, because of their outstanding son, they were able to hold the same amount of power now that their statuses had been elevated. As for Chang Wuji, despite being a housekeeper for the Changyang clan, he had a special status within the clan. He was fully deserving of having the right to sit at this banquet with the high-ranking elders of the clan. Xiang'er has profited from such a disaster, it would seem. When he was forced out of his home 6 years ago at the age of 15, I never would have thought that Xiang'er would grow so rapidly and by such an unbelievable amount. Changyang Ba sighed in admiration at the table. "Quite right, my son-in-law is quite talented, a talent that has never been seen before," the king spouted. Hearing what the 2 of them said, the 5 imperial advisors looked at each other in shock. Although Jian Chen was young, they had all thought that Jian Chen's true age was at the very least older than what his appearance portrayed. After all, the appearance of a person was not a true way to determine a person's age. After hearing what Changyang Ba said, the 5 of them realized that Jian Chen was truly younger than they thought. He was only 21 years old. A heaven saint master at the age of 21. At such a thought, Xiao Tian's heart was overwhelmed with shock. Originally, he had speculated that Jian Chen was 50 years old at the most, and 30 years old at the very least. Now that they all knew Jian Chen's true age, they were completely mute with shock. Being a Heaven Saint Master at the age of 21 was something that had never been done before. The last outstanding genius, over the entire history of the Tianyuan continent, had been 30 years old at the very least when he had become a Heaven Saint Master. Even more surprising, that very same genius later on became a Saint King. The 5 imperial advisors made resolutions within their hearts. They would without fail try their best to curry favor with the youngest imperial protector within the history of the Qinhuang kingdom and try to establish deep friendships with him. In their hearts, they knew that this young imperial protector would at the very least become an entity that would step into the realm of the Saint King. Even after the feast ended, nobody left. Instead, they gathered back in the giant hall of the Changyang clan, where they began to converse once more. It was only at night that the entire group split ways. In private, the king of the Jessan kingdom seeked out Changyang Ba and Bayuntian, "My dear relatives, now that the war is finally over, this king still has many things to do. So, I must take my leave tomorrow morning. I sincerely hope that you will be able to visit the palace with me and discuss the engagement between my daughter and Xiangtian. Now that they are both older, it is time to manage the marriage." "Ha, of course, of course. Your Majesty, please do not worry, once the Changyang clan calms down, I will immediately bring Xiang'er to the palace. I hope this will not trouble your Majesty." Changyang Ba laughed. Although his son's identity was vastly different, Changyang Ba himself still approved of such a marriage. One reason was because he wanted to reassure the king, and the other reason was because he approved of the princess. Changyang Ba had seen the princess before and could only speak of her with admiration. The princess was truly an outstanding young lady. "Ha ha ha, what kind of talk is that? This king would be happy to receive you, it is no bother at all." The king boomed with laughter. With that, the joyous mood receded as he cleared his throat and left. After the king left, Changyang Ba and Bayuntian walked to Jian Chen's room only to discover that the 5 imperial advisors were already inside Jian Chen's room. Changyang Ba and his wife spoke several words of greeting to the imperial advisors before turning to Jian Chen. "Xiang'er, rest up for tonight. Tomorrow morning, we leave for the imperial palace." "Yes, father," Jian Chen replied. This was within his expectations, since his identity as an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom had been revealed. It would be abnormal if the king of the Jessan kingdom didn't try to rope the Changyang clan into his influence as soon as possible. After thinking about his own identity, Jian Chen knew that the Jessan kingdom would definitely rise in power thanks to the Qinhuang kingdom. No matter what, the Jessan kingdom was his homeland, and where the Changyang clan had laid down its roots. As the child of the Changyang clan, this was something he should do. Changyang Ba and Bayuntian wanted to speak a little more with Jian Chen, but when they saw the 5 imperial advisors, they had no other choice but to leave. After Changyang Ba and Bayuntian left, Jian Chen let out a deep sigh before sitting back down. "Tomorrow morning I will be back at the imperial palace. You 5 should remain here for a few days." "Yes, honored imperial protector." Xiao Tian gave a response. Unbeknownst to Jian Chen, Xiao Tian's attitude toward him had become even more respectful than before. If one were to exclude his terrifying potential, Jian Chen would still be able to fight the 5 of them by himself with his strength right now. As soon as the 5 imperial left, one of the maids waiting outside came into the room. "Fourth master, the 4th lady and clan leader wished to speak with you in the hall." "I understand, you may go," Jian Chen replied. "As you wish." The maid withdrew. Walking up to his bed, Jian Chen looked at the peacefully sleeping white tiger cub on his pillow for a moment before leaving his room to speak with his parents. It was already night outside, but the Changyang clan was still lit with fire, and black armored soldiers could be seen patrolling around the clan compound with icy looks. Not only were the regular sentries of the Changyang clan standing guard, but there were also the black armors which were in charge of protecting the king. When Jianchen entered the hall, he didn't have to worry about the activity that was normally seen in the daytime. There were only 3 people within the hall. 2 of them were his parents, while the third person was a middle-aged man wearing black armor. He recognized this middle-aged man sitting across from Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba. It was his uncle, Bai Dao. "Xiang'er, come greet your uncle." Bai Yuntian told Jianchen as Bai Dao turned to look at Jianchen with a happy expression. Jianchen strode forward quickly before replying, "Hello, uncle." Bai Dao stood up from his stool with a bright smile, "Haha, excellent. It is no wonder you are the pride of our Bai clan." As he spoke, Bai Dao strode toward Jianchen before quickly striking at Jianchen's chest like lightning. Wind-attributed Saint force gathered in his fist before exploding like a strong gale from the force of his fist. Bai Dao's strike had been very sudden without any premonition. Combined with his strength as an Earth Saint Master, even Changyang Ba hadn't seen the attack coming. Jianchen's lips curled into a faint smile as he began to gather all of the energy of the world instantly in his palm. Then, he met Bai Dao's attack straight on with a graceful swing of his palm. As the 2 sides collided, a muffled sound could be heard from the contact. However, the excellent control of energy from both sides made it so no energy shockwave exploded outward. Dang dang dang. After the fist and palm had made contact, Bai Dao's legs were forced back several steps as he attempted to steady himself. With yet another smile on his face, he spoke, "You can truly control the energy of the world, Xiangtian. You've truly stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. It is no wonder that you are the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Brother, do you believe me now?" Bai Yuntian spoke with a pleased look on her face. Her own son held such a high achievement, making her feel extremely proud. "I definitely believe now, ha ha ha." Bai Dao laughed from his happiness. His eyes shimmered with a small layer of water that quickly disappeared as fast as it had appeared, meaning no one spotted it. Changyang Ba stood up from his stool and smiled, "Bai Dao, you and your sister haven't met for 6 years, why don't you 2 chat for now? I need to arrange several things, so Xiang'er, why don't you sit here with your uncle and mother?" Changyang Ba spoke before leaving. Very quickly, Bai Dao calmed himself and looked at his nephew with a complicated look. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master, how unbelievable. Who would have known that even after the destruction of our Bai clan such an outstanding child would appear? Bai Dao sighed as his face slowly grew more and more serious. Looking at Jianchen, his next words were more earnest, "Xiangtian, your uncle knows that you are different than you were in the past, and your uncle wants you to remember, not only do you possess the blood of the Changyang clan through your veins, but you also contain the blood of our Bai clan. The grievances of our Bai clan all rest with you." Bai Yuntian's eyebrows narrowed together as she gave a critical look to Bai Dao and spoke with dissatisfaction, "Brother, Xiang'er is still too young. Why must you speak of such matters now? Xiang'er has only just returned from the bitter outer world and finally made his way back home. You needn't push even more worries onto Xiang'er now. Mother, uncle is right. I am not only the child of the Changyang clan, but the Bai clan as well. Wait until I have enough strength, I will definitely take revenge for the Bai clan." Jianchen answered in a serious manner. Chapter 454, The Grand Princess. "Xiang'er, you don't need to decide on what to do for our Bai clan just yet, let that wait for later." Bai Yuntian spoke with concern. Despite her son being the imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom, the enemies of the Bai clan were far from weak, and their identities today were still unclear. If the patriarch of the Bai clan was a saint ruler and still couldn't resolve the matter, how would her own son be able to? At least for right now, it was impossible. "Xiangtian, listen to your mother. You only need to remember our enemies, revenge can wait for later. We haven't any idea on who the enemies are, perhaps our ancestors only knew a little about them as well." Bai Dao spoke in a low whisper, but as he spoke of the past, there was a pained look on his face. Bai Dao calmed himself down and continued, "Even though our Bai clan had 4 Heaven Saint Masters, they all fell. Even our saint ruler patriarch's current status is unknown. Finding out whether he is alive or not is our highest priority. But we still do not know where the patriarch is located if he is still alive. Bai Yuntian spoke with concern. A saint ruler would not die easily. With Xiangtian's talent, I believe that he will sooner or later cross over into the same realm. That will make looking for the patriarch easier. Bai Dao looked to Jian Chen. Xiangtian, I hope that you will be mindful and listen for news about our Bai clan's patriarch. I will. Jian Chen nodded. Jian Chen, his mother, and his uncle began to chat in the hall afterward before much time had passed. The three people there split paths and returned to their rooms to rest. The night quickly went by. The next morning Jian Chen walked out with the tiger cub in his hands. After eating breakfast with everyone, he left the Changyang clan with Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, the king and his black armors. The 5 imperial advisors remained behind within the Changyang clan and were provided for with warm hospitality. The reason Jian Chen had them stay within the clan compound was a selfish one. He wanted his clan to gain some prestige for having the imperial advisors with them. After several hours of traveling, everyone finally arrived back at the imperial palace by night. The king brought Jian Chen and his parents to their own personal palace rooms where they rested in. While there, several maids attended to them before leaving in a hurry. Not long after the king left, a young person over the age of 20 and an elder could be seen having a discussion with each other in a grand receiving room. At this moment, a middle-aged man came rushing in before kneeling before the youth and elder, a report for the second prince and Prime Minister Che. The king of the Jessan kingdom has returned to the palace and brought with him 3 people of unusual status. Hearing this, the Prime Minister narrowed his eyes and asked, "Were you able to hear who these 3 people are?" "Prime Minister, this humble servant was able to hear it clearly. All 3 of them are from the Changyang clan. Within the Jessan kingdom, they hold a decisive amount of power." The man spoke. A spark of light could be seen in the Prime Minister's eyes as he spoke, "You may leave. Be sure to take note of every action they take." "Yes, Prime Minister." The man quickly left the room. The Prime Minister immersed himself in thought as he muttered, "The Changyang clan, so they are from that clan. I heard a few years back, the king of the Jessan kingdom engaged his daughter to a person named Changyang Xiangtian, the 4th master of the Changyang clan. Yesterday, the king refused a marriage between our 2 kingdoms, and today, he brings the Changyang clan to the imperial palace. The meaning of this doesn't even need to be said." The second prince had a dangerous gleam in his eyes as he slowly drank his cup of tea. With a neither calm or angry voice, he spoke, "This king doesn't know how to tell bad from good. Our heavenly eagle kingdom has already offered a union between our 2 kingdoms, but instead of cherishing such an opportunity, he has slighted us in public." The Prime Minister spoke with a laugh, "Calm your anger, second prince. The marriage was something that His Majesty ordered me to complete. This old servant will surely arrange for it to happen. The relation between the Qin Huang and the Jessan kingdom is definitely not as intimate as we initially thought, there is no need to worry." Hearing this, the second prince revealed a smile on his face, "Then I'll be troubling the Prime Minister for your help." The Prime Minister's hand stroked his beard as he looked at the second prince with a smile. "Has the second prince been tempted by the princess?" The second prince nodded his head, "Her reputation precedes her. The princess truly is an excellent individual, not only is her talent at cultivation as strong as mine, she is also exceedingly beautiful. The air she carries about her is quite different than other women. Like a needle in the haystack, she is beautiful and elegant like a fairy released into the human world." The Prime Minister smirked. His elderly eyes watched how moved the second prince had become, because of the princess. At the same time within a red silk-laced room in the palace, a single black-haired young lady could be seen sitting at her dressing table. Both of her arms were machine-like as she combed her own long hair. Her slender white fingers held the wooden comb and made the combing motions gracefully and naturally. She wore a black and white cheongsam that added a sense of purity to her beauty. Her eyes gleamed with a dark look that seemed as if they were concealing an ability to captivate any man that looked at her. "Yuer, may your father enter?" The gentle voice of a man could be heard outside her door. "Father, you may enter." The seated lady spoke gently. The door opened, revealing the king of the Jessen kingdom, who came striding into the room. When he saw his daughter combing her hair, he let a small sigh escape his lips. "Yuer, your father understands your feelings, but your father is also the ruler of a kingdom, meaning there are situations where even I cannot move freely." "Father, your daughter understands. From the day I was born into royalty, your daughter lost the ability to live her own life." The daughter's expression had a downcast look to it. "Yuer, please do not be so sad, your father truly loves you. How could your father bear to let you feel anguish? Yuer is far too outstanding, so there is only one man in your father's mind that suits you. Yuer, hurry and get dressed. We must go see your future husband, Changyang Xiangtian of the Changyang clan." "Changyang Xiangtian? Is it not the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom?" the girl asked in confusion. "The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The king spoke with a low nagging voice and his eyes revealed a disdainful look. "How could the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom suit my Yuer? Yuer, you may not know of this, but as things stands now, it is time to tell you." The king stopped speaking for a moment as he drew closer to Yuer. He looked at the copper mirror that reflected the beauty that was his daughter. With a smile, he spoke, "Yuer, when you were staying at Kargath Academy in the past, I believe you met Changyang Xiangtian. After a few years, Changyang Xiangtian is now a person of many achievements and has far exceeded the expectations your father had. Did you know? Changyang Xiangtian is 21 years old, but he has already become a Heaven Saint Master. Furthermore, he was able to defeat 3 of the Heaven Saint Masters of the Huayun sect by himself." Yuer's eyes regained some semblance of vigor as her face betrayed a look of shock. She thought about how a 21-year-old was a Heaven Saint Master. Next, the king followed up on his own words, "That's not all, Yuer, do you know why the imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom came to the assistance of our Jessen kingdom all of a sudden?" At a loss, Yuer shook her head. "This was completely because of Changyang Xiangtian, for he is also the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Those 5 imperial advisors of the Qinhuang kingdom obeyed Changyang Xiangtian's command to help our Jessen kingdom." As he spoke, the king of the Jessen kingdom couldn't help but reveal some excitement in his voice as he himself grew excited. This piece of information caused no small amount of shock to Yuer. As she digested the words, Yuer's eyes began to widen as her cherry-red lips dropped down to form an "oh" shape in utter disbelief. After a long moment, Yuer finally regained her spirit and turned to look in shock at the king. Hiding her mouth behind her hands, she asked, How is that possible? Father, are you deceiving your daughter?" The king laughed. "Yuer, do you think your father would play such a trick on you? Yuer, it's time for you to get dressed. In a moment, I will be meeting with Changyang Xiangtian. The Changyang clan right now is a clan that our Jessen kingdom should remember to curry favor with. In the future, our kingdom will be relying on them." "Ha ha ha, I never would have thought that the imperial protector would unexpectedly be the 4th master of the Changyang clan, how shocking. This one is named Yi Ming, but if the imperial protector would be happy, please just call me by my name instead of my title." Within the palace, a white-robed figure laughed out loud and didn't bother to hide the joyous look on his face. This elder was the Heaven Saint Master in charge of protecting the Jessen kingdom, but he had once seen Jian Chen at the eastern stronghold during the war. Jian Chen nodded his head with a smile on his face, but didn't speak a word. "Honored Imperial Protector, I've heard that you were once a student of Kargath Academy. The headmaster, Kafir, is already on his way here after hearing the news. I believe that he'll be here soon. Wait until he hears that the Imperial Protector was actually a past student of Kargath Academy. I wonder what expression he'll have, ha ha ha." Yi Ming laughed. "Ha, I predict that he will be far too stunned to say a word." After Yi Ming spoke, another voice came out from behind them abruptly. Turning around, the two could see the king himself and a beautifully dressed, all in white, Yue right behind him. Her eyes had a resplendent glow to them as she looked curiously at the three people from the Changyang clan before ultimately glancing upon Jian Chen's face. "My dear son-in-law, this is my daughter, the Grand Princess, Yu Yu." This name was personally picked out for her by her mother. As they entered the room, the king introduced his daughter straight away, but when he mentioned Yu Yu's mother, his face showed a glint of sadness. Chapter 455, Rescinding the Engagement. Jian Chen stood up from his chair and looked at Yu Yu with tranquil eyes and a smile. "I pay my respects to the Grand Princess." The princess was wearing a white changpao and stood quietly behind the king. Her long, beautiful, black hair that usually cascaded down to her waist was tied up to her head in a delicate fashion. Combined with her beautiful looks, which were capable of felling a country, her appearance had the ability to steal a man's soul. The princess didn't speak a word or return a bow and instead looked at Jian Chen curiously. Her eyes twinkled in the light, giving her the appearance of a wise person. Laughing, the king spoke, "My dear son-in-law, this must be the first time you have come to my imperial palace. Allow my Yue to show you around the place." Not even waiting for Jian Chen to respond, the king gave a look to the princess behind him. Understanding the meaning in his stare, the princess spoke gently, "Lord Changyang Xiangtian, if you would please follow me." Her voice was so soft and gentle that everyone who heard her felt themselves at peace. "Then I will trouble the princess." Jian Chen smiled as he walked forward. There were still some things he wished to speak with the princess about. Seeing him leisurely walk out with the princess, Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian let faint smiles appear on their faces. Having the princess as a daughter was something they were both extremely satisfied with. Within the Jessan kingdom, aside from the princess, they hadn't been able to find any other woman capable of fitting with their son. Even the king had a joyous smile on his face as he sat down next to Yi Ming and faced Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. "My dear family, nephew Xiangtian and my daughter Yue aren't young anymore. It seems to me that it is best to take care of the matters of marriage straight away." The king laughed, hoping that they could continue the marriage as quickly as possible. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian looked at each other for a brief moment before Bai Yuntian answered, "Your Majesty, we wholly agree to the marriage of Xiang'er to the princess. However, Xiang'er has grown old as well to become old enough to handle his own responsibilities. There are some matters we dare not meddle in, so I propose that we wait for Xiang'er to see what his opinion is." Hearing this, there was a glint of disappointment in the king's eyes, but he agreed with Bai Yuntian's thoughts. In the imperial palace, a single guard could be seen walking into the quarters of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's envoys. Cupping his hands, he spoke, "A report for the second prince and the prime minister, the king of the Jessan kingdom has brought the princess out." She and another male around the age of 20 were seen walking toward the imperial garden. "You may leave." The prime minister waved his hand for the guard to leave before furrowing his eyebrows together. There was a cold glint in the second prince's eyes as his face grew dark. "That youth must be Changyang Xiangtian. That king has refused our toast, and now, he'll drink to his defeat. I personally came all the way here just to be treated in such an absurd way. Ridiculous." Even the prime minister let out a short snort. It would appear that the king of the Jessan kingdom is determined to marry the princess to the Changyang clan. It is time to find the king himself for an answer. With that, the prime minister flicked his sleeves with a furious expression. After the prime minister left, the second prince thought for a moment before snorting, "Changyang Xiangtian, let this prince see just what right you have. I am a man you cannot even touch." With that, the second prince left the place to walk toward the imperial garden with several other people from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen walked alongside the princess as they strolled around the palace before quickly coming into a sea of flowers. This was a world full of fresh flowers of all kinds and all sorts of colors arranged in a beautiful pattern. A sweet fragrance wafted into the air, allowing everyone to feel comforted with each breath. On the way, the the two hadn't spoken a single word, but it was evident that the princess truly loved this area. As she walked alongside the flowers at a leisurely pace, her face revealed a gentle smile as she looked at the many beautiful flowers. This is the biggest flower garden within the entire Jesson kingdom. I enjoy this place, and if I am within the palace, I will always find myself looking at these beautiful flowers. I planted these flowers myself when I was young. The princess smiled as she spoke with a voice similar to a skylark in melody. Her snow-white changpao combined with her beautiful looks, made her resemble a fairy as she stood in the middle of the flowers. Jian Chen looked at the beautiful face of the princess for a moment before speaking. "Princess, have we met before?" He had been waiting to ask this question for a very long time. Hearing this, the princess' eyes turned away from the flowers and back toward Jian Chen before smiling. "My name is Yu Yu, Changyang Xiangtian, do you remember it?" An image suddenly flashed in Jian Chen's mind as he realized just who she was. "So it's you? We met many years ago at Kargath Academy, no wonder I felt that the princess looked familiar to me." The princess couldn't help but think back to when she had met Changyang Xiangtian for the very first time, several years ago in the library of Kargath Academy. His thirst and enthrallment for knowledge had left a deep impression on her. And now, after several years, the tiny saint had suddenly transformed to become one of the strongest individuals on the Tian Yuan continent. The entire Jesson kingdom, which was on the verge of destruction, had in fact been saved by this one individual, causing the princess to feel astounded. Yet, at the same time she was left in disbelief. Looking at the handsome face of Changyang Xiangtian, the princess hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Changyang Xiangtian, I heard from my father that you are a heaven saint master. Would it be possible for you to allow me to experience what it is like to fly?" Jian Chen hesitated briefly before ultimately nodding his head with a smile. "Princess, prepare yourself then." With that, Jian Chen's right hand gently grasped the princess' arm. Despite her clothes serving as a barrier between his hand and her arm, Jian Chen could feel her gentle yet flexible skin underneath. Her arm was very minute and soft. Jian Chen's hand could fully wrap around it despite his hands not being too big. The very moment Jian Chen touched her arm, the princess revealed a frantic expression on her face. Ever since she was young, no other male had touched her besides her father. Without even waiting for her to react, a layer of the wind element enveloped her entire body and levitated her body from the ground. She began to slowly float into the air. Jian Chen's expression was very calm and his eyes were as tranquil as water. He slowly brought the princess into the air and up toward the sky. Soon enough, the princess calmed herself as the fresh feeling of flight captured her heart. Her face grew curious and happy as she looked down at the slowly shrinking palace below her. "Is this what it's like to fly? This is like a bird flying through the air freely. How envious I am of their experience." The princess' face could not hide the admiration she felt. "The princess has talent. As long as you continue to work hard, you will one day step into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters." Jian Chen laughed. The princess truly did have such talent. At her current age, she was already at the Saint Master realm. The two quickly descended back to the ground in the center of the flower garden. The look the princess gave to Jian Chen now was completely different than the one from before. Seeing the beautiful face of the princess, Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before speaking. "Princess, Changyang Xiangtian, call me Yuer. That is what my father and Uncle Yiming call me." As Jian Chen opened his mouth, it was closed shut by Yuer. Shortly after she spoke, her face grew a little red. "Then I shall do that." Jian Chen didn't argue. "Princess Yu Yu, there is still a matter I wish to discuss with you." The princess remained quiet as her bright eyes continued to stare straight at Jian Chen. Continuing, Jian Chen spoke. "Princess Yu Yu, the marriage between the two of us has never been agreed to by either of us. Our parents may have agreed, but the way this marriage was proposed is something I am actually against. In the past, I hadn't the power to do anything about it, and so I accepted it in silence. But it is different now. I have the power now." With that, Jian Chen stopped speaking for a moment. Although he hadn't been completely straightforward, the intelligent Yu could understand where Jian Chen was going with this. The princess went silent for a moment as her eyes stared at the Go board on a nearby table. After a while, she spoke, "Changyang Xiangtian, do you wish to rescind our engagement?" "Princess Yu, I believe that even you are against how this marriage was carried out. If you agree, I will immediately ask the king to annul the marriage. I know why your father did such a thing, but you needn't worry. I am a citizen of the Jessen kingdom, this is my home, and I will definitely protect my home." Jian Chen spoke calmly. In the past, he had been completely against this marriage. However, at the time he didn't have any power, he couldn't do anything about it. Now, the situation was different from the past. The princess was silent for a moment, but her heart was anything but calm. Hearing Jian Chen's wish to rescind the engagement caused her heart to feel a stinging pain of disappointment. It was as if she had lost something extremely important. Chapter 456, Threat of the Second Prince. Back when she was attending Kargath Academy, when she had heard that her father had already confirmed an engagement between her and someone else, the princess had been extremely against such a proposal. She had even gone to visit her father in person several times to try and repeal it, but all her attempts had resulted in failure. But after she had grown up, the princess had gradually come to understand the situation. Right now, the Jessen kingdom could be considered to be a developing kingdom. And although she was a princess of a pampered status, there were many things she did not have the freedom to do independently. For example, she didn't even have any margin of choice regarding an important matter like lifelong marriage which related to her future happiness. Thus, she was born as a victim, to be sacrificed for the well-being of her kingdom. Such a fate like this had only been gradually accepted by her as time went on. Initially, when she had first heard of the king's proposal of marriage between Jian Chen and her, she had been against it. But since the moment she'd hear of Jian Chen's achievements and saw his appearance, her heart had gradually accepted him. After all, Jian Chen was handsome and talented. If he was able to become a Heaven Saint Master at the age of 21, his future potential was practically unlimited. Not only that, but he was also an imperial protector for the Qinhuang kingdom and was not arrogant despite holding such a status. In fact, he was rather amiable. After being enshrouded with so many glorious achievements, the princess image of Jian Chen had begun to change for the better. She could even say that Jia Chen was a natural-born slayer of the hearts of women, the knight in shining armor they dreamed of. Thus, the princess had secretly felt delighted at this marriage before because of Jian Chen's excellent qualities. Even if she were to survey the entire continent, it would be hard to find a man that would be able to measure up to Jian Chen. Moreover, Jian Chen's particularly strong amount of strength and special status were also extremely important to the princess. The thought of having such an outstanding person as her future husband stirred excitement in her heart. But at this moment, Jian Chen actually took the initiative to suggest dissolving the marriage. This made the princess feel extremely disappointed. Although only a very short amount of time had passed and the princess couldn't say she was absolutely smitten with Jian Chen, he had at the very least captured her affections. After a long while of silence between the two, the princess finally broke the odd silence with a question, "Changyang Xiangtian, could you please tell me, why is it that you wish to rescind the marriage? Could it be your heart is already fixated with someone else?" Jian Chen shook his head. "Princess, you must have heard about what happened to me back then. I was forced to leave my Changyang clan for many years, and despite surviving these harsh conditions, I have made many enemies. They are very strong and are perhaps enemies that I cannot face off against as I stand today. Furthermore, there'll be an even more serious matter in the not-so-distant future. The final results are outside my range of anticipation, but I know that I must dedicate myself to improving my strength so that I will be able to avoid any possible calamity. Thus, I do not wish to waste time having any personal considerations with a woman." Hearing Jian Chen explain his reasoning, the princess let out a breath in relief before smiling at Jian Chen's handsome yet determined face. "Changyang Xiangtian, it is no wonder that you were able to reach your current stage in such a short amount of time. Judging by how hard you work at cultivating, you must have suffered a lot these past few years. Hearing her speak those words caused Jian Chen to inwardly sigh. In the past few years, he had truly suffered many hardships and paid heavy prices. Not only had he walked the line between life and death multiple times, he had even truly died at one point. The current achievements he held today were by no means a coincidence. Princess, I hope that you can understand. I do not wish to have a relationship at the moment. I only wish to improve my own strength to be able to deal with the future. Jian Chen replied. He thought about the Shi family and the Jie clan. Both of these clans had saint rulers within their ranks. They were the people who really frightened Jian Chen. There was also the Yangji sect of the Qiangan kingdom. The patriarch had said something about guardian clans. This had also somewhat concerned Jian Chen. They shouldn't be that major of a faction, but the patriarch's words had caused Jian Chen to infer several things. And so, he started to fear that the guardian clans were far stronger than he had initially thought. Then there was also the matter with the tiger cub. Jian Chen had taken Elder Xiu's words to heart. Perhaps the white tiger cub had already caused a stir within the continent. The Gilligan clan had already been established as an enemy of the white tiger cub and would chase after it until either side dies. With the cub being a heavenly tiger god, the Gilligan clan would be extremely adamant on having it die before it could grow old, since the cub's complete growth would spell destruction for the Gilligan clan. Right now, what made Jian Chen worry the most was that the king of the Gilligan clan would not follow the agreement it had made with the humans and would leave Cross Mountains in order to personally find and kill the tiger cub. This king was a terrifying existence that could easily kill a saint ruler, so Jian Chen didn't dare face against the king of the Gilligan clan by himself without sufficient strength. Hesitating for a moment, the princess spoke, Changyang Xiangtian. That year my father had personally made the proposal. But now that you wish to rescind this marriage, have you thought about the honor of our imperial palace? Seeing Jian Chen grow silent, the princess hesitated for a moment before finally thinking of a solution. After a brief moment, she finally found the right words to speak. How about this? You and I will go to my father and ask that the wedding be postponed for a later date. If we do that, Princess Yu will be. Jian Chen looked a little embarrassed. If they were to do this, it would squander the princess youth. Right now he had only wished to improve his own strength, he had never thought about such a life-changing event like marriage. The princess let out a sigh in relief. After coming to a conclusion like this, her heart still felt a little helpless. If this were several years ago, she would have agreed to Jian Chen's suggestion of canceling the marriage without any hesitation. But now... Princess. I didn't think that I would come across you here, what a coincidence. Suddenly, a cheerful voice could be heard as a smiling youth approached them from far away. His age wasn't all that different from Jian Chen's and he was also quite handsome himself. However, he had a scholarly look to him that made him look weak, which was a huge contrast to the determined look of Jian Chen. Right behind this youth were two guards around the age of 50 with steady faces and fierce eyes. That's the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The princess whispered to Jian Chen. Jian Chen nodded his head slightly as his eyes hovered onto the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom before quickly losing interest and looking around at the beautiful and colorful flowers appreciatively. The second prince wore a luxurious robe with a folding fan held in his hand. He approached them with an elegant stride. Without even waiting for a greeting from either of the two, he sat down on the stool by the stone table without sparing Jian Chen a glance. His face held a splendid smile as he spoke to the princess. I never would have imagined that I would be able to come across the princess while on a simple stroll. It would appear that the princess and I, your exalted prince, were brought together by fate. The princess and the second prince exchanged several words of greeting before the second prince finally took notice of Jian Chen. If I am not mistaken, then you must be fourth master of the Changyang clan, Changyang Xiangtian. The second prince revealed a faint smile on his face, but his expression was haughty and his words did nothing to hide his arrogance. He even looked at Jian Chen with a look of disdain. That is correct, I am he. Jian Chen spoke emotionlessly. The second smiled before turning to look at the princess. Princess, I wish to speak with Changyang Xiangtian in private. For a moment, the princess hesitated before finally standing up from her seat. Then I won't be disturbing you too. Then, she walked out of the pavilion and across the sea of flowers by herself. After the princess left, the smile on the second prince's face disappeared only to be replaced with a threatening stare at Jian Chen. Changyang Xiangtian, this prince knows of your engagement with the princess. But the princess is someone I have my eye on already. Each and every single suitor of the princess won't be getting past me, so this prince hopes that you will go to the king and rescind the marriage. Jian Chen gave a mocking look toward the second prince before speaking. It isn't your turn to meddle in my affairs. Furthermore, you do not even have the rights to interfere. Your Majesty, if you don't have anything to say, please excuse yourself. The second prince's face changed color as his eyes began to gain a cold and detached look. Changyang Xiangtian, do you understand the words you are saying? Do you truly wish to have me as your enemy? Could it be that you wish for your Changyang clan to be destroyed? It would appear that you know not of the strength of the heavenly eagle kingdom. Jian Chen's mouth revealed a cold smile. With the second prince being so impolite, Jian Chen didn't bother to give any face to the prince. With disdain, he spoke, Your Majesty, do you have the qualifications to even be called my enemy? The Changyang clan is not one you can anger. As for the heavenly eagle kingdom, do you believe that with just a single command, I could have your entire heavenly eagle kingdom disappear overnight? Outrageous! The second prince roared in anger as his hand broke apart the stone table in two. His eyes glared fiercely with killing intent at Jian Chen before yelling, Changyang Xiangtian, you know not of the difference between the heavens and the earth. Since you are so willing to walk the path of doom, allow this prince to see you through and through. Knowing that you have now insulted my heavenly eagle kingdom, there will be no one to save you now. Come, apprehend him. We shall bring him back to the heavenly eagle kingdom to see how my father will deal with him. The two bodyguards standing behind the second prince walked forward with dark faces. The cold glints in their gazes carried powerful killing intent. Jian Chen's words just now had caused murderous thoughts to arise in both people. They both stretched a hand toward Jian Chen's shoulders with little concern for him. The corners of Jian Chen's mouth tilted up into a sneer of disdain. His finger lit up, causing azure and violet sword chi to shoot out and head straight toward the two people's outstretched palms. Chapter 457, Ming Dong pays a visit. The two soldiers didn't anticipate that Jian Chen would actually fight back, and the azure and violet sword chi was extremely fast as well. They had no time to dodge at all, so their palms were instantly skewered through with the sword chi, staining the area with blood. The two men instantly looked shocked as the sudden pain in their palms caused them to cry out involuntarily. They couldn't believe what had happened as they looked down at their own hands in surprise. Neither of them had expected the fourth master to be so capable. Although they were shocked, they weren't yet afraid of him. Even after taking the first loss, they didn't have any desire to retreat just yet. A large amount of saint force flowed out from the both of them to form their saint weapons. Grabbing them, they stabbed out at Jian Chen. The instant the two guards formed their saint weapons, the second prince quickly retreated back in fright. He clearly understood their strengths, and he didn't think that the fourth master of the Changyang clan would be able to force them to bring out their saint weapons. This event to him only served to scare him. Still sitting in the stone chair, Jian Chen's eyes showed contempt as he looked at the two guards striking at him. His hand waved gently, causing sword chi to shoot out from his fingers, slamming into the two saint weapons. When the azure and violet sword chi made contact, the two guards shook from the blow as a tremendous energy vibrated through their saint weapons and made their entire right arm go numb. Their arms felt heavy as they tried to hold their saint weapon, and their feet were dragged back away from the pavilion. The second prince looked at the two guards in shock. His expression revealed his astonishment. While he expected Jian Chen to react, he hadn't expected to see such a result like this. His two guards were both Earth Saint Masters, so none of the three had expected any resistance. The sounds of battle had been heard by the princess, who was appreciating the flowers from some distance away. Quickly hurrying on over, her eyes hovered over the broken stone table and asked, "What has happened for a fight to suddenly take place?" Standing up from his chair, Jian Chen walked to the side of the pavilion with his arms by his side. Looking at the second prince, Jian Chen spoke calmly, "Your Highness, you should understand that a loose tongue invites trouble. I hope that you will take notice of what you say. This world is not the world of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The second prince's face grew extremely dark as he listened to Jian Chen. "A loose tongue invites trouble, those are smart words. Changyang Xiangtian, this prince will remember those words. The future is long, we will wait and see what happens next." After those words, the second prince and his two guards left the place in a saddened state. Looking at the second prince retreat, Jian Chen had a faint cold smile on his face. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was not something he could bother with. The princess had a complicated stare as she looked at Jian Chen before walking to his side. "Changyang Xiangtian, he is the prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and this is the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom. Would this not attract trouble? There's no need to worry, I know what the appropriate behavior will be. If trouble truly does come, I will bear responsibility." Jian Chen spoke flatly. "That wasn't my intention," the princess tried to explain but was then interrupted by Jian Chen. "Princess Yu, we should return now." The second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was without a doubt one of the most heavily watched people within the imperial palace. Not too long after Jian Chen and the princess had left, the news that the second prince had suffered a loss in the flower garden had made its way to the ears of those people with influence. Even Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian, who were chatting with the king, had heard the news along with the other officials and the princes of the imperial palace. Within a splendid and luxuriously decorated palace room, three youths in their 20s sat by each other and were eating merrily. On the table, all sorts of exotic delicacies could be seen. Suddenly, a soldier came running into the room and spoke several words into the ears of two of the youths. Straight away, the two youths had shocked expressions flash over their faces. With a wave of their hand to dismiss the guard, they grew even more serious. "Princes, what has happened?" the other youth asked in confusion. "The guards just sent us news that the fourth master of the Changyang clan has offended the second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. This isn't good, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom isn't a kingdom we can stand to offend." One of the princes spoke. "What? Changyang Xiangtian?" The third youth spoke in surprise before revealing a happy smile. "Could it be that the fourth master, Changyang Xiangtian, has returned?" "That's correct. Changyang Xiangtian has only just returned, we only just received information of that not too long ago." Seeing Brother Ming Dong's expression, "Could it be that you know him?" the other prince spoke. Ming Dong nodded his head. "I didn't think he would return that quickly, and to the imperial palace no less. Fellow princes, I will be taking my leave first then." With that, Ming Dong quickly left the two princes sitting by the table with looks of surprise and disbelief. "Changyang Xiangtian knows Brother Ming Dong," a prince muttered in surprise. The second prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom looked furious as he and his bodyguards stormed back into his resting room. As soon as he entered the room, he slammed a palm onto a nearby table, causing the pricey wooden table to split in two. "Changyang Xiangtian, I will make you regret this. The disgrace you've brought me today, I will definitely return this favor back to you 1,000-fold." The second prince's eyes held a ferocious glare. As a prince of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, no matter where he went, he had never been so humiliated before. By that time, the Prime Minister had come back with an unhappy face. When he saw the furious look on the second prince, he couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, "Second prince, what has happened to make you so angry? The men of the Changyang clan are far too unbridled." After saying those words, the second prince recounted his tale of what had transpired in the flower garden. After hearing it, Even the Prime Minister's face had grown serious as he spoke. To be able to push back 2 Earth Saint Masters at the age of 20, that sort of talent is terrifying. It is no wonder the Jessen Kingdom's king specifically chose the Changyang clan. It was because of Changyang Xiangtian. The second prince turned to look at the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, could it be that your discussion with the king failed as well? The Prime Minister nodded his head. That's correct. The king is adamant on having the princess marry Changyang Xiangtian. Even if I were to move the entire Heavenly Eagle Kingdom here, he would not budge an inch. However, the king is in his right to do as he does. If I were him, I would act in the same manner. I never imagined that Changyang Xiangtian had such a strength like this. If a talent like this is given time to grow, his future will hold no barriers. It is possible that he may usher the Jessen Kingdom into a golden age. The second prince's eyes flashed with a fierce killing intent before speaking. He is a threat to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. In the case that the Jessen Kingdom grows strong, they will endanger our kingdom. Changyang Xiangtian cannot be left to live. With each word he spoke, his voice grew progressively colder. The Prime Minister nodded. That's correct, I have the same sentiments as well. With Changyang Xiangtian speaking such outrageous words, this gives us an excuse to act. Then I will bring some experts to take down Changyang Xiangtian. Unable to wait for even another moment, the second prince began to move. Wait a moment. The Prime Minister spoke. Your Highness, this servant has 2 ways to solve this. Then, he began to whisper into the second prince's ear. Jian Chen and the princess returned to the imperial palace where the king and his parents were still chatting to each other. Ah, my son-in-law, your timing is impeccable. Since you and Yue are no longer young, I believe that it would be a fine time to quickly wed the 2 of you. The king laughed as if he was in a hurry to quickly wed his daughter. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian both had smiles on their faces as well as clear indications that they stood with the king. Hearing this, Jian Chen hesitated for a moment. Your Majesty, there is still some matters I need to take care of in the near future. I do not have time to consider a relationship at this moment, so we should postpone this wedding for now. The king narrowed his eyebrows and shared a look with Changyang Ba with an awkward expression. Father, your daughter also wishes to postpone the marriage for a later date. The princess suddenly spoke with a face that betrayed no emotion at all. Hearing that Jian Chen and the princess both wished to postpone the marriage, the king had no other choice. With a sigh, he replied, Fine then, since you 2 both wish to postpone it, then we shall postpone it. The king's face could barely hide his disappointment. Now that the 4th master of the Changyang clan had a status far unlike the one before, the king could only go along with him and feared to go against him. Xiang'er, why are you doing this? Bai Yuntian had a reproachful look. Mother, your son still has many things to do. There is no time at the moment for a marriage. Jian Chen had a bitter smile on his face. To the others, he was an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom with the strength of a heaven saint master. But only he himself knew the extent of his strength. The wedding being postponed indefinitely had caused Changyang Ba, Bai Yuntian, and the king to all feel disappointed. As parents, they had naturally want to see their own child start a family, especially to a person that was superior in their traits. Everyone left soon afterward with Jian Chen and his parents heading to the room allocated for them. It was one of the more expensive palace rooms that was specifically made to receive such guests. At that moment, a guard came running in with a message. A report for the 4th Master Changyang Xiangtian. There is a man named Ming Dong seeking audience. Chapter 458. Midnight Assassination. At that moment, a guard came running in with a message. A report for the 4th Master Changyang Xiangtian. There is a man named Ming Dong seeking audience. Hearing Ming Dong's name, Jian Chen was stunned for a moment before a joyous smile overtook his face, and he quickly left the room. Seeing Jian Chen walk out of the palace, the white-robed youth standing outside revealed a smile. This was the Ming Dong that Jian Chen hadn't seen for half a year. Ming Dong had a happy smile as he walked toward Jian Chen and slapped him on the shoulders. Hey! Jian Chen, you actually did return. I was expecting you to come back later. Jian Chen looked over Ming Dong. There was a noticeable difference from the Ming Dong of half a year ago to the one right now. His aura had calmed down a bit and he no longer looked as impatient as before. Let's talk inside. Jian Chen laughed as he brought Ming Dong into the palace. This was the special palace allocated to Jian Chen by the king, so there were around 50 black armor soldiers outside. The two sat down in 2 chairs. A maid brought the two some snacks and 2 cups of tea before leaving after being dismissed. I was just planning on going to find you, but who would have thought that you were hiding away in the palace? Jian Chen was quite delighted. Ming Dong and him were like good brothers. Now that they had both met once again, they were naturally be happy. Back when the war had only just finished, I accepted the king's invitation. His kindness is a hard thing to decline, so I stayed within the palace for several days to try out the lifestyle here. This is the very first time I've lived in such a way, so I decided to stay for a little longer. Ming Dong laughed. Then are you done with such a lifestyle? Jian Chen laughed. Ming Dong took a bite of a snack and began to chew before speaking vaguely. I originally planned on staying for a little longer. But now that you're back, wherever you go, then I, Ming Dong, will naturally follow. Suddenly, Ming Dong looked to Jian Chen. Jian Chen, should I call you Changyang Xiangtian or Jian Chen? Just call me Jian Chen, I rather like that name. The name, Changyang Xiangtian, is something only my clan calls me. Outside of that, I am Jian Chen. Jian Chen spoke without hesitation. Ming Dong nodded his head before looking serious. The assignment you gave me has already been completed. The heaven's stolen fortune has already been given to your father. I know of your circumstances too. When the time comes, don't forget to call for me to help deal with the Huayun sect. Jian Chen laughed. There's no need. I've already dealt with the Huayun sect. Ming Dong was startled for a moment before he asked in confusion, dealt with? How so? Don't tell me that you've forgiven the Huayun sect that easily. Jian Chen and Ming Dong continued to talk through the night. When it came to Ming Dong, Jian Chen did not hide anything. Everything that had happened after the two had split, Jian Chen told him aside from the matter with the tiger cub. It wasn't because he didn't trust Ming Dong, but it was because the fewer people that knew about it, the better. Plus, if he did tell Ming Dong, there was a chance Ming Dong would feel a larger amount of pressure. After listening to Jian Chen speak of what happened, Ming Dong let out a slow breath of air. It was when Jian Chen spoke of the battle with the 8 Heaven Saint Masters that Ming Dong had nearly leaped out of his skin. I never thought that so many things like that could happen. The Jida clan and Shi family cannot be allowed to get away with this. Wait until we gain enough strength, we will definitely make those two pay a heavy price. But Jian Chen, this disaster has brought you some profit as well. Although you came across such misfortune, your strength has grown exponentially. You're even a Heaven Saint Master now as well as an Imperial Protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom. I can barely believe it. If I'm not wrong either, you're only 21 years old. It was only when it was late at night that Ming Dong left Jian Chen's place. As an esteemed guest of the Jessen Kingdom, he had his own room. After Ming Dong left, Jian Chen walked into his own room and sat on the bed to meditate. At this time, the tiger cub that had previously been sleeping on the bed, from absorbing the heavenly resources, finally awoke. Refreshed, the tiger cub stood on all 4 of its limbs and blinked its bright eyes at Jian Chen. Then, its body leaped onto Jian Chen's shoulder and used its shaggy head to rub Jian Chen's face as it let out a purr of content. The cub was able to control the size of its own body, so at the moment, its body was about the size of 1/3 of a meter. This was the equivalent to the size of a small cat, making it look rather cute. Taking the cub into his hands, Jian Chen regarded the strength of the cub with a small smile on his face. In just these past few days, the tiger cub had reached the strength of a Class 3 magical beast. This rate of growth was absolutely terrifying, and if this trend were to continue and he had enough heavenly resources, then it wouldn't even take another year for the cub to become a Class 5 magical beast. It's no wonder that the heavenly tiger god was a being only seen in the ancient past. This rate of growth is far too quick. Jian Chen sighed with admiration. Taking out several roots of thousand-year heavenly resources from his space ring, Jian Chen spoke, "Continue to work hard and improve your strength. That way, you will be able to defend yourself." There was an undeniable allure from the heavenly resources to the small cub. Upon seeing the thousand-year heavenly resources in Jian Chen's hands, the tiger cub's eyes began to sparkle before it quickly wolfed them down. Once it had ate its fill, with a content glint in its eyes, it curled up on Jian Chen's bed before falling asleep to absorb the resources. Seeing the sleeping tiger cub, a look of worry crossed Jian Chen's face. As time goes on, the amount of heavenly resources will be larger, and the amount of time needed to absorb them will increase as well. I don't know how much longer the heavenly resources I have on hand will last me. I will have to think of a solution soon. Afterward, Jian Chen slowly closed his eyes as he brought out 2 Class 5 monster cores. Without any ruler armaments, Jian Chen could only rely on the energy within the monster cores to convert to chaotic force. Jian Chen knew that the chaotic force was extremely strong, and despite it having no use at the current moment, there would be a day in the future where he would be able to use it after establishing a foundation for it. This foundation was his body. If he could strengthen his body, he would be able to withstand the chaotic force coursing through it. So right now, he needed enough chaotic force to strengthen his body. When he could make use of the chaotic force, Jian Chen was confident that his strength would make another large leap in quality. After half the night, when the entire palace was of fearful calm, a squadron of black armor soldiers continued to patrol. They made their way around the imperial palace, moving in every direction in an attempt to protect the peace. Suddenly, a single figure hidden in the night came flashing forward, headed toward Jian Chen's palace without a single sound. The darkness of the night protected his body from detection, as if he had become one with the darkness. Even if someone were to get close to him, they would be hard-pressed to know that he was there. This mysterious figure easily dodged the outermost black armor soldiers protecting the palace and slipped inside. Like the outside, the inner palace was dark without any lighting. The surrounding darkness bore no effect on the figure, allowing him to see everything clearly. Looking around himself, the figure silently entered Jian Chen's room, where he saw Jian Chen sitting on his bed meditating. Inching closer to Jian Chen until he was within 10 meters, the figure took out a jade bottle and gently uncorked it, causing a faint gas to float toward Jian Chen. Waiting for the gas to fully assimilate into the room, he put away the bottle and replaced it with a black dagger. With a black stream of light, the dagger in his hand instantly shot toward Jian Chen's throat. Suddenly, an azure and violet glow of light flashed in the room before the crisp sound of metal hitting metal could be heard. The forward momentum of the dark figure came to a grinding halt before his legs staggered back several steps. With each step he made, the clear, distinct sounds of footsteps could be heard. How uncommon, to think that I would come across someone with the dark attributed saint force. A gentle voice could be heard within the dark room. As if the darkness hadn't affected his vision either, Jian Chen opened his eyes from his meditative state, and stared straight at the figure hiding in the darkness. You're not affected? How can that be?" The hidden assailant cried out in shock. Jian Chen laughed, "Your poison was far too weak and had no effect on me." The figure knew that his assassination attempt had failed and he had even been discovered. This was a battle that he could not win. Without hesitation, the figure flashed away in a streak of dark light toward the outside without a sound. Dark attributed cultivators were nicknamed the Kings of the Night. The night time was their domain. They could hide their auras perfectly within the darkness as if they were one with the night, making it hard for anyone to detect them. Did you think running would be that easy? Jian Chen laughed as he clutched at the air with his hand, causing the previously dark room to be illuminated. In an instant, a fire-red sword materialized in the room. The room was lit up from the light of a red flame that startled the guards on the outside. Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, the fire sword quickly shot away, like an arrow, from the room and ultimately toward the dark figure. Bang! A fierce explosion could be heard as the light from the fire spread throughout the sky, alerting the entire palace. The assailant was engulfed by the flames with a scream, revealing his position. His clothes had been set aflame, and although he had managed to escape the fire, he had suffered serious injuries. An assassin! There's an assassin! The previously quiet palace quickly turned lively as many black armor soldiers came running toward the source with torches. Many figures flashed across the rooftops as the higher-skilled figures charged toward the flames at a rapid pace. Upon seeing his position was revealed, the assailant had no wish to remain here any longer. He tried to climb into the darkness to escape despite his wounds. At that moment, an azure and violet flash of light could be seen flying at an extremely fast pace, blocking the man from escaping. Chapter 459, One After Another. How outrageous, to dare try to assassinate the brother of Ming Dong, you truly don't wish to live. Ming Dong's face was dark as his eyes revealed a ferocious killing intent. He lashed out with a gust of wind attributed Saint force directed at the head of the assailant. Bang! Following the muffled sounds of contact, the assassin's head had blood fly out from where he was hit. Ming Dong had cracked his skull, causing a part of it to dent in a little bit. Without another sound, the assassin fainted. All of the Earth Saint Masters within the palace had finally arrived by the assassin's side. Each one held a single torch to illuminate the night and peered down to look at the assassin's face. The assassin's clothes had already disintegrated into ashes so that he was almost naked. Even his hair had been burned away and his skin was a darkened hue. His face had been disfigured, and with the injury given to him by Ming Dong, his appearance was already far too long gone to know who he was. Quickly, 100 black armor soldiers came rushing forward with even more black armor soldiers starting to congregate from all over into the area. What has happened just now? A deep voice called out from behind as the king came striding forward in his sleeping clothes along with several bodyguards. Your Majesty, an assassin infiltrated the palace in an attempt to assassinate the fourth master of the Changyang clan. But he was apprehended in the end. A black armor soldier reported to the king in a low whisper. Hearing this, the king had a dark expression. Arrest the assassin and throw him into the prisons. Interrogate him until we find out just who he is. Yes. Immediately, several soldiers took the fainted assassin and bound him up. Afterward, 2 Earth Saint Masters personally took the assassin away from the area. By this point, Jian Chen had arrived as well with both hands behind his back as he strolled toward everyone with a calm expression. Walking to Jian Chen's side, Ming Dong asked, Jian Chen, are you all right? Shaking his head, Jian Chen responded, I'm fine, he didn't touch me. With concern, the king arrived by Jian Chen's side as well. Son-in-law, are you unharmed? That assassin didn't harm you, I hope. You needn't worry, this king will do his best to investigate this matter. With Jian Chen's newfound status supporting the Jessen kingdom, the king's personality to him had changed to be even more respectful. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Then I'll be troubling you. News of a mysterious assassin infiltrating the palace had caused ripples through the palace. Not only was the king surprised, but even the imperial palace's Heaven Saint Master Yiming had been startled before coming in person. The appearance of an assassin was no small matter, and his target was a particularly special person. However, as a suggestion of Jian Chen's, the matter was quickly brought to rest. Not too long later, the palace had grown silent once more. But now, even more black armors could be seen patrolling the palace during the night. And right outside Jian Chen's palace, the amount of soldiers had quadrupled in number, leaving 200 black armors standing around. Although the king knew that this served as decorative purposes only, it was the least he could do on the surface. Jian Chen returned to his room and sat back down on the bed once more. Both of his eyes had a glint that radiated with a cold killing intent. The night quickly passed, but in the morning, the loud sounds of clamor could be heard outside. Several black armor soldiers stood right outside the palace gates in a single line with stone expressions. They radiated a fierce spirit ready to kill. The head soldier spoke in a polite voice, "Your Highness the Second Prince and honored Prime Minister, this is the imperial palace of the fourth master of the Changyang clan. Without his permission, you cannot go inside." Opposite of them, a dozen soldiers dressed in a similar fashion from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Leading that group at the front was the second prince and the prime minister. "Changyang Xiangtian has insulted our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, and even more serious, he has treaded upon the honor of our kingdom. You will stand aside now. If not, then do not blame us for being rude." The second prince spoke harshly with an imposing amount of power. Although this was the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom, none of the people from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom saw the kingdom as a threat in any way. "Your Highness, no matter what the reason is, you cannot go in. Unless you have received the permission of the fourth master, we cannot let you in." The soldier spoke without backing down. A tiny soldier is actually blocking the path of a prince? How preposterous is that? The prince grew furious and waved a hand, "Charge in. If there's anyone that obstructs your way, give them no mercy." "Yes." The group from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom shouted as they waved their saint weapons. Although they had only 40 people, each one of them were Earth Saint Masters. Even at the peak of the Jessen Kingdom, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's strength was many times stronger than them and could easily dispatch multiple Earth Saint Masters. In contrast, out of the 200 black armors, only 5 of them were Earth Saint Masters. The rest were Great Saint Masters in majority. Thus, the difference between the two kingdoms' strengths was as clear to see as night and day. Despite this, however, the black armors refused to show any weakness and brought out their saint weapons. "Stay your hand." A sudden voice called out as Jian Chen came walking out from his palace out of the blue. On his face, a dark expression could be seen as he took notice of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. "Changyang Xiangtian, I had thought that you would at least try to hide, but you actually came out." The second prince's eyes were like fire as they burned with the humiliation that was etched in his memory. One step at a time, Jian Chen walked out from the palace and toward the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's group with cold eyes. "Explain your reason for coming today." "Changyang Xiangtian, you insulted my Heavenly Eagle Kingdom yesterday and stomped upon my kingdom's honor. If you have any sense left, then sit still and let yourself be captured so we can bring you back to our kingdom to await the king's punishment. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the responsibility if you don't." The second prince spoke arrogantly. This time he had been prepared and brought multiple experts, so he wasn't afraid of Jian Chen. Jian Chen's face had a cold smile on it as he looked at them with disdain. "Second prince, if you leave now, then I'll let bygones be bygones. Otherwise, I will offer you the same advice, you will have to bear the responsibility of your actions." The second prince's eyes flashed fiercely, "You seek death, arrest him." As soon as the second prince spoke, the Earth Saint Masters had charged straight at Jian Chen. "Obstruct them." The leader of the black armors shouted. 5 of their Earth Saint Masters immediately flew forward to stop the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian Chen gave a small snort before pointing a finger. Several rays of azure and violet sword chi flew out from his fingertips and instantly shot towards several of the Earth Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. The Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's Earth Saint Masters were just about to fight the black armors. Therefore, they hadn't paid any attention to Jian Chen. In the next moment, the sword chi pierced a hole straight through their chests. The experts of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom let out grunts as they retreated backward. They revealed looks of astonishment as they looked at Jian Chen behind the black armors. "Changyang Xiangtian, do you truly wish to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom your enemy? You don't know the extent of our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom." The Prime Minister spoke seriously. Jian Chen had beaten his expectations by large margin. "And what does the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom matter? Two envoys from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, do you believe that you will be able to walk away from the Jessen Kingdom's palace today? As soon as the Prime Minister spoke, another aggressive-sounding voice could be heard from behind. At this voice, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom experts turned around with an incredibly furious expression. A single white-robed youth around the age of 28 came walking forward. The previous words were clearly spoken by him. Chapter 460, You and What Army? The second prince let out an angry smile. Good. Very well then, it seems that the Jessen Kingdom truly wishes to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom our enemy. Youngster, it matters not who you are, today this prince will ensure that you do not leave this place alive. You and what army? The youth's face had a look of disdain on it. Such a look of disdain caused the second prince to burst into a furious storm. If it weren't for the fact that he had no idea who this youth was, he would have long since ordered his soldiers to attack. Sire, who are you? Do you know that your words may be giving trouble to the Jessen Kingdom? The Prime Minister spoke with a dark expression. The youth laughed. This one is named Ming Dong. I am not from the Jessen Kingdom, so don't even bother linking me with them. Changyang Xiangtian is my sworn brother. If you truly dare to seek trouble with my brother, you will first have to go through me. Very well. Then allow us to see what sort of power you have to act so savagely. The second prince looked angrily at Ming Dong with a furious look. Go and capture him. 3 more experts from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom charged toward Ming Dong with bright but cold eyes. Their saint weapons rippled with a large amount of energy as they surrounded and struck at Ming Dong without mercy. With a little snort, Ming Dong's eyes flashed with a cold light as his saint force condensed in his right hand. In the next moment, a cyan-colored long sword materialized in his hand before striking out 3 times to meet the 3 saint weapons of his enemies. Following the metallic clang from the clash, the 3 Earth Saint Masters from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdoms paled in the face. Although the youth in front of them was quite young, his strength was no less than theirs. The cyan-colored sword had contained a stronger amount of saint force than their own weapons, and he was far more of a match for them. With this single collision, the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's experts had been forced back several steps with startled expressions as they looked at Ming Dong. A 6th cycle Earth Saint Master, you've reached such a level. One of the Earth Saint Masters cried out in shock as disbelief filled his face. They themselves were geniuses with talent, but it was only after making use of a large amount of resources and dozens years of hard work that they were able to make it to the realm they were in now. But now, there was a youth that was no older than 30 years with a strength far beyond their own. This to them was a huge shock. What, he's a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master? The second prince was startled as well. Looking at Ming Dong's young face, his heart felt disbelief. However, his face darkened for a moment before speaking. It matters not if he's a 6th cycle Earth Saint Master. Have some of you go capture him for daring to speak such arrogant words to your prince. This cannot be forgiven, otherwise, where would the honor of our Heavenly Eagle Kingdom go? Yes. At the prince's command, another 6 Earth Saint Masters came forward to strike at Ming Dong. His Majesty the King has arrived. Suddenly, a single large cry could be heard as the king and several black armor soldiers could be seen walking by his side in a hurry. The king wore a long white robe with his hair somewhat disheveled. Clearly, he had been in a rush to come over. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian were right behind him. The king cast an eye down at the spectacle before him before looking to the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom with a dark look. Second prince, what is the meaning of this? There was an angry look to the king's eyes as his attitude toward the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom dropped several degrees in temperature. Your Majesty, Changyang Xiangtian and Ming Dong are far too impudent and have offended my Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. This prince wishes to take these 2 back home to await my father's punishment. Each and every man that dares to offend my Heavenly Eagle Kingdom cannot be forgiven. This is a matter that you should stay out of. The second prince spoke coldly as if to look down on the king. Second prince, you will take your men and leave this place at once. If you continue to make trouble, then your heavenly eagle kingdom will not be able to handle the consequences. The second prince snorted, Your Majesty, could it be that you wish to get in the way of my heavenly eagle kingdom? Second prince, this is the imperial palace of the Jessen kingdom. This is not your heavenly eagle kingdom. The king was furious now. Now that the Jessen kingdom had the rapport of the Qinhuang kingdom, he no longer feared the heavenly eagle kingdom. Furthermore, the imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom was his future son-in-law. This connection between them was nearly as tight as iron. And if we continue to persist on this matter? The prime minister asked. If you continue to persist on making trouble within the imperial palace, then do not expect I, Yi Ming, to be sensitive to your feelings. A sound came from the sky as the white-robed figure of Yi Ming came flying in, landing right beside the king. Prime Minister Che let out a snort. It appears that the Jessen kingdom truly desires to see our heavenly eagle kingdom as an enemy. Fine then, Senior Georgian, we will be troubling you to make the first move. At the Prime Minister's words, a single 50-year-old man came forward from the group. The man was rather ordinary looking without any single outstanding detail to him. A figure like him would be easily looked over. I didn't think that your envoy group would have a heaven saint master. I, Yi Ming, have made an error in judgment. Yi Ming laughed with eyes that revealed some astonished. The Prime Minister and the second prince were practically oozing with confidence, leading the Prime Minister to say, A prince of our heavenly eagle kingdom came from far away. If there was no heaven saint master as his bodyguard, the king would never be satisfied. That much is true. Yi Ming nodded in agreement. However, you only have one heaven saint master, that does not change much. Georgian stepped forward with a earth-shattering amount of power flowing out from his body. It appears that your Jessen kingdom is dead set on making our heavenly eagle kingdom your enemy. Changyang Xiangtian and Ming Dong are two characters that we will definitely bring back. If you continue to intervene, then our two kingdoms will meet again with swords and shields. At this moment, Jian Qin spoke, Senior Yi Ming, since they are so determined to take me, then let them take me. I will settle this matter myself, you needn't join in. Jian Qin spoke with a calm expression, but his eye toward the heavenly eagle kingdom was full of discontentment. Yi Ming and the king both looked at each other for a moment before the king spoke, All right, since that is what my son-in-law wishes for, then this king dares not disagree. Jian Qin, this group of men is too impudent. We have to teach him a lesson, I'll cheer you on. Ming Dong spoke. He knew just how strong Jian Qin was in his heart. Jian Qin nodded his head with a smile. Facing the heavenly eagle kingdom, he spoke, Since your group wishes to take me back, hurry up and make your move. I don't have that much time to squander with you. You rampant brat. Georgian's face grew dark. He knew that Jian Qin was quite strong himself, but he made the first move anyway. Transforming into a blur of light, his right hand rippled with saint force before attempting to slam it into Jian Qin's throat. Jian Qin's right hand made a fist and brought a large amount of the fire element in the world around it. Without any hesitation, he brought it against Georgian's own hand. As the two sides met, a large amount of energy flowed in every direction, causing dirt and sand to fly everywhere, throwing up a dust storm that covered the entire place. After the strike, Georgian's body was sent flying back. With a startled look at Jian Qin, he exclaimed, That was the energy of the world. If you can control the energy of the world, you've already stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters. At this remark, those who had not known about Jian Qin's strength let out looks of extreme disbelief. Even the normally stone-faced black armor soldiers were shocked. What? A Heaven Saint Master? Changyang Xiangtian is a Heaven Saint Master? No, that can't be. That can't be possible. The second prince grew pale instantly as shock registered on his face. Even the Prime Minister had a nasty look on his face. It is quite unfortunate that you found out too late. Jian Qin spoke coldly. A bright glow of azure and violet light could be seen as Jian Qin brought the origin energy of the sword spirits toward Georgian. Knowing that he was now fighting a man of equal ranking as him, Georgian could hold back no longer. Immediately bringing out his saint weapon, he slashed at Jian Chen as well. Ding! Georgian simply had no idea how strong the origin energy of the sword spirits were. At the moment of impact, between the saint weapon and origin energy, a large metallic sound could be heard before a decent-sized hole appeared on Georgian's saint weapon. PFT. Georgian sprayed out a mouthful of blood as his face instantly grew pale. At the same time, he looked down at his saint weapon with a look of shock. How is this possible? You damaged my saint weapon. Georgian cried out in shock. Fear flooded his body in waves and completely unsettled him. Jian Chen gave Georgian no breathing room and immediately brought the origin energy together in a resplendent light that shot toward Georgian a second time. After taking a loss the first time, Georgian was now afraid of the azure and violet sword spirits. Fearing a second clash, he immediately dodged the blow. Jian Chen hadn't stopped to rest after the miss. Making use of the origin energy, he considered it to be the same as his old light wind sword. Despite not having any saint force inside his body to support himself or maintain a high speed, with the wind element aiding him, Jian Chen's speed was not too slow either. Georgian had only just dodged the third blow by a narrow margin, but before he could stabilize himself, Jian Chen's fourth sword strike had already come down on him. Forcing Georgian in a situation where he couldn't dodge, he could only use his saint weapon to block it. As the two weapons clashed, Georgian's saint weapon gained a new nick as it took damage once more. This caused his body to be injured as well. Blasted, what power is this? How could you be that strong? Georgian was astounded. Against such a powerful strike, he hadn't even been able to dodge. In the end, he was dominated without even being able to use his full strength. With these serious injuries, Georgian's strength had taken a huge dip. In the end, after being hit by another blast of Jian Chen's fist, encased in the fire element, to his chest, Georgian flew back with a mouthful of blood flying out. Chapter 461, a name that spreads everywhere under the eyes of everyone. Georgian was defeated by Jian Chen. He flew through the air, tumbling 20 meters away to the ground. Even after he had stopped rolling, blood could be seen pouring from his pale mouth. At this stunning sight, everyone from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom was astonished. The previously confident second prince and Prime Minister Che turned pale, and the second prince started to shiver and shake with fear. When they planned on causing trouble within the imperial palace of the Jessen Kingdom, they were relying heavily upon Georgian as a heaven saint master. Georgian had been dealt serious injuries in several moves, indicating the difference between their strengths. Now that Georgian was powerless to defend himself, how would he be able to defend the second prince? The entire group of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom now had nasty looks on their faces. Each one stood by the second prince and prime minister with dignified stances as if prepared to defend them from the Jessen Kingdom. Jian Chen had been able to defeat a heaven saint master in such a short amount of time. This had shocked everyone to the point of causing them to be speechless. He was so young, but he was already a heaven saint master with a strength that was absolutely mind-blowing. Furthermore, the strength he wielded was not just an ordinary amount of strength. A battle between heaven saint masters was usually filled with an enormous amount of energy. Victory would not be so easily determined in such a short amount of time, but Jian Chen had managed to inflict 2 severe wounds on a heaven saint master within a brief 2 breaths worth of time. A strength this strong was far too shocking for anyone. Georgian coughed up violently enough for 2 people before slowly bringing himself up from the ground. Terrified, he looked at the young Jian Chen in front of him. He could hardly believe that Jian Chen was just a barely 20 years old youth. With such a strength like this along with a mysterious power that could destroy saint weapons, Georgian's heart was filled with terror. Jian Chen would hold the advantage, even in a battle against a heaven saint master, because he wielded this power. At the very least, he would be able to easily kill a heaven saint master. After all, in a battle between 2 people, a clash of weapons was unavoidable. Since saint weapons were linked to their owner's life, if their saint weapon was damaged, the owner would be severely damaged as well. Since Georgian was using his sword to support himself off the ground, the two jagged chips on his sword were clear to see. Just what is this power of yours? To be able to so easily damage my saint weapon? Georgian looked at Jian-Chen seriously. Although he tried to force himself to look calm, his words had already betrayed a hint of a stammer. That power of Jian-Chen's completely terrified Georgian. Jian-Chen recollected the origin energy back into his own body and wrapped his hands against his chest. I see no need to tell you that. Men of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, were you not quarreling earlier about capturing me? Have everyone come forth, I, Changyang Xiangtian will receive you. The experts from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom all looked at each other. They were caught in a situation where they could neither advance nor retreat. Now that they knew Jian-Chen's strength, they had already lost the previous arrogance they had. Even the second prince and prime minister had fallen silent. Their enemy had easily defeated a heaven saint master, so even if all the earth saint masters were to charge at him, they would only be charging toward their deaths. A heaven saint master and an earth saint master were on completely separate worlds in strength, one traveled the heavens, the other traveled the earth. The difference between the two sides could not be argued about. Georgian took in a deep breath, his expression began to grow dejected as he reclaimed his saint weapon. I had no idea that the Jessen kingdom would have such a blessed genius. Changyang Xiangtian, you are strong and there is no doubt that I am not a match for you. As a representative of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, I wish to apologize for the rude display from before. Without waiting for a response from Jian-Chen, Georgian began to lead the entire group away. Halt, where are you going? Ming Dong's figure suddenly appeared in the way of the group and laughed. Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, did you really think that my brother and I would be that easy to bully without consequence? You were just going on about capturing the two of us to bring back to your shitty highness as if we were beneath your notice. But now that you know you are no match, you decide to slip away. How easy do you think that'll be? Georgian's face darkened as a hint of anger flashed across his face. Then what are you thinking of? He growled. Your entire group will remain here, do not even think about leaving the Jessen Kingdom's imperial palace. Ming Dong spoke coldly with an earnest look. At this, everyone from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom blanched for a moment before the Prime Minister spoke. Then do you plan to completely imprison everyone here, or do you wish to kill us all? Even the tiny Heavenly Eagle Kingdom can be so savage. Ming Dong snorted before looking to Jian-Chen. Brother, how do you propose we deal with them? Last night's events cannot be so easily forgiven. Although the assassin from yesterday night had been captured, his mouth was sealed tight and so the Jessen Kingdom were unable to figure out his true identity or affiliations. To anyone with a sharp mind, there was a mutual understanding of the truth. Jian-Chen thought for a moment before waving his hand. Ming Dong, let them go. Jian-Chen, don't tell me you'll let them walk away that easily. Ming Dong had an unwilling look on his face. Let them go, that is what I plan to do. Jian-Chen spoke. With Jian-Chen so resolute on his decision, even Ming Dong had no alternative. Stamping past the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom, he spoke, you better hope that your paths will not cross with me in the future. Otherwise, you will not get off easily. With that, Ming Dong allowed them to pass and stood by Jian-Chen's side. The entire group from the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom let out a sigh in relief. Without any hesitation, they quickly left the area. They no longer had any face to stay within the Jessen Kingdom. When the envoy left the palace, they immediately left for the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom. Jian-Chen, why did you let them go? Ming Dong asked the question that was weighing on his mind. The Jessen Kingdom has only just experienced a war and is greatly injured. We cannot bear to make the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom our enemy. Jian-Chen said. What are you afraid of? Don't forget your current status. Are you afraid of a tiny kingdom like the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom? Jian-Chen shook his head. Although the power of the Qinhuang Kingdom is tremendous, so is the distance from there to here. Having the army dispatched here is far too unrealistic, and since the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom is so close to the Jesson Kingdom, with their power, it is best to not be caught in a deadlock with them. Although I am not afraid, the Jesson Kingdom cannot be thrown into this. So you were thinking about the well-being of the Jesson Kingdom. Ming Dong felt relieved. He had always been alone and thus had always looked out only for himself, no matter what. Very rarely did he ever consider the consequences of his own actions, so he had not initially understood why Jian Chen had gone through such troubles. The king had reached Jian Chen's side and begun to speak several words of concern to him. His attitude was that of a father who cared for his son. Speaking kindly, the king already saw Jian Chen as his son-in-law. The disturbance of the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom had quickly died back down, but Jian Chen's strength had been revealed. News of his strength spread through the imperial palace and had made him a revolutionary figure from within. At the same time, Jian Chen and the princess marriage had been circulated as well for everyone to know. Although the engagement had been confirmed several years ago, it had not been announced until now. Only the two sides and the Huayun sect knew of the engagement before, making the marriage a secret within the palace. After the Heavenly Eagle Kingdom's envoys had left, the king invited Jian Chen and his family back into the palace to have a discussion in private. Not too long after, an imperial decree was given that shocked the entirety of the Jesson Kingdom. Changyang Xiangtian, the fourth master of the Changyang clan, would now hold the title of an imperial protector of the Jesson Kingdom with an authority that was not below the king himself. At the same time, the king announced Changyang Xiangtian's marriage to the princess, letting everyone in the entire kingdom know about the affair. After this series of events had happened, the previously low-profile Changyang clan in Lore City became one of the most heavily watched clans within the entire Jesson Kingdom. Their reputation had grown to the point where everyone knew about them and could no longer be as low-profile as they were before. Furthermore, Changyang Xiangtian became a person of interest to everyone in the kingdom. Every single deed or achievement he had accomplished before was investigated by the masses, and they gradually learned even more things about him. The strength Jian Chen revealed at the imperial palace hadn't been kept secret. Instead, the king had secretly spread news of it. Quickly, the news of a 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master spread throughout the kingdom for everyone to know. However, this piece of information had led to everyone turning their nose up in disbelief of the news. A 21-year-old Heaven Saint Master? That was far too ridiculous. In a luxurious tavern in Lore City, a brightly red-dressed Dugu Feng sat by himself and drank a cup of wine. Everyone had been talking about the matter with Jian Chen, but Dugu Feng had cared not for this and turned his nose up, unconvinced. Suddenly, a random conversation at a nearby table caught Dugu Feng's attention. This Changyang clan is one of the 4 great clans in our Lore City, aren't they? The matters regarding their fourth master, Changyang Xiangtian, are things I know about. I've heard that even when he was young, he was a genius among geniuses. In Kargath Academy, he defeated a middle great saint and several other saints working together as a primary saint. How amazing is that? However, he had offended the Huayun sect and mysteriously disappeared after that without a single trace. It was only in these past 2 days that he suddenly reappeared. Dugu Feng slowly put down the wine cup in his hand as his eyebrows knit together in thought. He was also from Lore City, could it be him? Could it be that when he went to the Holy Lands, he managed to make the breakthrough to become a Heaven Saint Master? Chapter 462, Illusion Array, 1. After listening to Jian Chen's suggestion, the tidbit that indicated that Jian Chen was the imperial protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom was not revealed. So when he became an imperial protector for the Jesson Kingdom, several dukes and chancellors contested it, but their voices were tiny. With the king having the support of both Yiming and Kafir, the opposition was quickly suppressed, which gave way to Jian Chen becoming an imperial protector for the Jesson Kingdom. In fact, he was now the only imperial protector the Jesson Kingdom had. The coronation ceremony for Jian Chen becoming an imperial protector was packed with people. Practically anyone that was anybody in the Jesson kingdom showed up. Not only did the 3 other major clans from Lore City send their representatives to show their support, but even many people from faraway cities came to participate. This event caused the name of the Changyang clan to skyrocket. They completely overshadowed even the Huayun sect's power to the point where they had replaced them as the authority figure. At this, Changyang Ba didn't know whether to laugh or cry. There was a helpless look on his face knowing that the Changyang clan could no longer be as low profile as before. Once the coronation ceremony had finished, Jian Chen and his family left the imperial palace shortly after. On the second day, they left the palace and were accompanied by 500 black armors back to Lore City. Ming Dong followed Jian Chen away from the imperial palace. Within the troops, there was a single white-dressed beauty that was very easy to see. Situated among the black armors, she was like a beautiful flower that was blossoming in a magnificent manner that was both eye-catching and dazzling. The princess of the Jesson kingdom had begged to leave the imperial palace in order to temporarily live with the Changyang clan under the guise of wishing to nurture and cultivate their relationship. Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian had both heartily agreed to her request, since this was what the both of them had been hoping for. With their agreement, even Jian Chen was helpless to disagree. The entire family traveled on merrily with laughter as they comforted each other with happy words. Because of the pace, they arrived back at Lore City by the afternoon of the second day. Lore City had long since received information that they were approaching, and had a giant party ready to receive them at the gates with respectful smiles and polite attitudes. After the welcoming, Jian Chen and his group returned to the Changyang Manor with the 500 black armors declining to stay any longer. Once they were done with their meal, they immediately started their trek back to the imperial palace. The Changyang clan was decorated with bright lights and colored banners to symbolize the happy state of the manor. With a happy look, Ming Dong and Jian Chen immediately walked for the giant gate. Seeing Jian Chen's rushed manner, the guard that came forward to alert him was startled. He thought back to the way he had treated Dugu Feng and immediately grew afraid that Jian Chen would take his anger out on him, causing him to grow extremely anxious. He knew now that the Changyang clan was a major power, but the one who held the power wasn't the clan leader, instead, it was the fourth master Changyang Xiangtian. His words were worth far more. Jian Chen arrived at the front of the gates where he saw Dugu Feng, someone he had split paths with half a year ago. Right now, Dugu Feng was still the same as he was before. There was no change to his appearance, and there was still a cold and detached look to him. I don't see the wrong person, it really is you. Jian Chen laughed. Seeing that the fourth master of the Changyang clan was the one he had been looking for, Dugu Feng couldn't help but break out into a smile. So you were originally called Changyang Xiangtian. It's no wonder I wasn't able to find you for so long in Lore City. Laughing, Jian Chen didn't bother to explain at that moment and replied, "Come in, we'll talk inside." Afterward, the 2 guardsmen let out a breath in relief and joy the moment they had disappeared. Jian Chen had taken Dugu Feng into the clan compound. I didn't think that he would actually be the friend of the fourth master. It is a good thing we didn't offend him, otherwise, it would be foolish of us to think we could remain in the Changyang clan. One of the guards spoke with some lingering fear while the other guard nodded in agreement. Jian Chen took Dugu Feng into his own room and began to talk with him. From Dugu Feng's own mouth, Jian Chen had already known that Dugu Feng had left the Dugu clan. From that moment on, he was no longer affiliated with the Dugu clan, and whatever he did now, would not affect the Dugu clan in any way. The manner in which Dugu Feng had conducted himself gave rise to Jian Chen having respect for him. In his heart, he had already thought of Dugu Feng as someone worthy of respect. Although neither person had known the other for long, Jian Chen knew that he could trust him. Ah, Jian Chen, don't you have the mercenary group? Have Dugu Feng enter it, our strength will increase once more with him. Ming Dong suddenly suggested. I had that idea as well. Jian Chen smiled before his eyebrows knit together. I don't know when Senior N and Yun Zheng will arrive. It's simple, Jian Chen. didn't you give an address to Signoren and Yunzheng? All you have to do is notify the city lord and have them ask everyone that enters. This way, when Yunzheng and Signoren arrive, we'll be notified, and if they haven't come, we won't waste any time. Ming Dong proposed. Jian Chen's eyes lit up, that is a good proposal. Xiao Yu, call housekeeper Sid over. Afterward, Jian Chen told housekeeper Sid to go to the city lord and instruct him to do as commanded. Sid immediately ran for the city lord's mansion with great speed and relayed the instructions word for the city lord to hear. When the lord of Lore City heard of the command that came from the fourth master Changyang Xiangtian himself, he immediately grew serious. Without any hesitation, he went off to make the arrangements himself. After several days, Jian Chen had finally finished all the matters from the Jessen kingdom as well as his own home. For now, he could relax. Late at night, Jian Chen sat on his bed and took out a map from his space ring. It's about time to investigate that Saint Ruler's cave. I hope it does not disappoint and has a ruler's armament, Saint Ruler's skeleton, or anything else that could help me cultivate my chaotic force. When I am able to use my chaotic force, my strength will surely reach a new realm. Ah, I cannot wait. On the morning of the second day, Jian Chen told Ming Dong, Dugu Feng, and his parents that he would be leaving. He then flew through the air toward the cave of the Saint Ruler, indicated on the map. The cave of the Saint Ruler was situated 50,000 kilometers southwest of the Qiangan Kingdom in a mountain range. It was only 11,000 kilometers away from his Changyang clan. It would take 2 or 3 days to arrive if Jian Chen were to travel without rest. Chapter 463, Illusion Array, 2. Jian Chen quickly passed over the boundaries between the kingdoms and finally arrived at the beautiful mountain ranges on his third day of traveling. This large mountain range was extremely vast and the peaks pierced the clouds, hiding more than half the mountain from below. This mountain range was not as ordinary as it looked. There was an abundant amount of energy from the world, about 2 to 3 times the normal amount. Even without a monster core, this was still a very decent place to cultivate. In this place, double the work could be done with half the effort. Jian Chen floated 100 meters up the mountain before looking around. Sometimes, he would refer to the map in his hands as he searched for the area where the cave was. Several moments later, Jian Chen let out a sigh in disappointment. Although the map indicated that the cave of the Saint Ruler was in this mountain range, it was not all that detailed and did not accurately pinpoint where the cave was. Jian Chen looked once more at the topography of the entire area and focused on it in his mind. Putting away the map, he began to use the wind element to envelop his body, allowing him to fly into the air. At the same time, he began to spread his presence out. It covered a diameter of 15 kilometers in an attempt to scour the entire range for any hints or clues to the secret cave. Quickly, Jian Chen arrived in the depths of the mountain range when all of a sudden his eyes noticed something strange. Up ahead, there were hundreds of wooden houses scattered about in a single ring and a 50-meter-tall tower stood in the middle. On top of the tower, 3 bold words were written on it, Pure Heart Pavilion. Within the mountain ranges, there is still a hidden sect. Jian Chen was extremely curious and began to fly toward the buildings. Just as Jian Chen drew close to the Pure Heart Pavilion, an elderly voice could be heard through the air. A guest is approaching from far away, how delightful. Disciples, let us welcome him. As soon as he spoke, the doors to the houses began to open as men wearing all sorts of clothes began to walk out. Both men and women, of varying age with smiles adorning their faces and a spirited aura surrounding them, appeared. At the same time, a white-robed elder came flying from the tower. The elder had a long braided hairstyle and held the air of a sage to him as if he was one who had achieved the status of an immortal. Jian Chen floated 500 meters away from the entire crowd with a suspicious look on his face as if he was trying to figure out what they would do next. His presence had already spread throughout the Pure Heart Pavilion sect grounds, and from his presence, he could clearly sense their strengths without fail. There weren't many people to the sect, about 60 people total. Aside from the long-haired elder, there was still another Heaven Saint Master gathered within the crowd. Half of the 60 people were at the Earth Saint Master realm while the remaining half were at the Great Saint Master level and under. Traveler, if you are inclined, please come sit at our Pure Heart Pavilion for a while. The floating Heaven Saint Master had a smile on his face as he spoke. Laughing, Jian-Qin spoke, "We are complete strangers. Sire has neither idea if I am a well-doer or an evil-doer. Yet, I am invited in on our very first meeting. Does Sire truly trust this one that much?" The elder laughed in return before using his hand to stroke his beard. Pure Heart Pavilion, ah, Pure Heart Pavilion. As the name implies, we are of pure heart with few desires. As such, our Pure Heart Pavilion is penniless and we do not covet wealth like those other sections. We desire no items, and since we disciples cultivate in hiding, we have no enemies. Friend, you think too much. Hearing this, Jian-Qin had a suspicious expression on his face. He had already traveled the Tianyuan continent for a very long time and met all sorts of people, but those with pure hearts and few desires, he could safely say that he had never met anyone like that before. In that case, this one will be troubling you for a while. Jian-Qin accepted with cupped hands before following them into the sect. Under Jian-Qin's omnipresence, the area of the Pure Heart Pavilion wasn't hidden at all. However, what led to Jian-Qin being surprised was that the elder was true to his word and the entire sect was extremely impoverished. As an example, none of the disciples could be seen wearing a space belt or ring or even anything similar. There were no monster cores, no exotic foods, or any valuable jadeite pearls or stones. Even the more fundamental items to living like rice could not be seen. Furthermore, when it came to the disciples of the sect, Jian-Qin could see that they were all pure in the sense of not wishing for anything. Each one of them had an air of a person who had rejected the secular world. Knowing this, Jian-Qin could hardly believe his eyes. This feeling was almost like he was in a completely different world. Jian-Qin followed the elder into the tower where he was given a single cup of pure mountain water. "I am Tian Shuzi, a master of sorts to the Pure Heart Pavilion. For my very young friend to reach such a high level of strength, I cannot help but find it hard to believe." Tian Shuzi sighed in admiration. "Was elder able to tell my age that easily?" Jian-Qin was greatly astonished. Within the continent, the appearance of a person was not always an accurate method of determining age. Unless it was someone who knew of his details, anyone that saw him as a Heaven Saint Master would never believe he was as young as he looked. Another reason for that was because within the Tianyuan continent, there were many methods for a person to maintain their youthful appearance. Tian Shuzi nodded his head as his right hand moved to stroke his long beard. Slowly, he said, "The mysteries within the ancient records my Pure Heart Pavilion cultivates with allows us to see the origin of everything clearly. So my young friend, I can see your age quite clearly as well. You are no older than 25 years old." At his statement, Jian-Qin truly felt astonished. Seeing how Tian Shuzi's stare had a slight change to them, Jian-Qin sighed in admiration. "It seems that your sect truly practices an extremely mysterious record." The elder laughed. "Of course, the pure heart secrets are truly abstruse and can decipher the origins of everything, but those capable of cultivating these secrets are rare and few. The Pure Heart Pavilion has existed on this mountain range for well over 1,000 years, but in this current generation, the sect has never had as many disciples as now. That said, we only have 80 disciples. The other 20 disciples are out traveling the continent to seek others that are capable of practicing our pure heart secrets. Those who can practice the pure heart secrets are far too few in this world. Because of the secrets, a practitioner must be pure of heart and have little desires. Otherwise, they wouldn't make any progress. At the same time, the rates in which practitioners learn at are slower than the outside world. Firstly, that is because we focus on tempering the mind. Secondly, we cannot absorb the energy within a monster core and instead absorb the pure energy of the world to slowly accumulate energy. For that reason, our speed is not yet like those of the outside world. It would appear the heavens are fair. If the pure heart secrets are that divine in power, then its restrictions make sense. Jian Chen had said, this was the very first time he had seen or heard of such a strange method of cultivation. Little friend, I know that you would not have come out here without reason. Why have you come to this mountain range? Tian Shuzi asked. Jian Chen sat upright with both eyes staring back at Tian Shuzi. Feigning a casual air, he asked, Sire, you must have lived within these mountains for a very long time and thus, know it like you know your own hand. Would Sire know of any strange areas within these mountains? Tian Shuzi gave a beaming smile at Jian Chen. The strange area you are talking about, it must be that Saint Ruler's cave, yes? Jian Chen's eyes lit up as he cupped his hands and smiled. Sire has an amazing prophetic ability to be able to speak so accurately. Not at all, this elder has no such ability. It is only that the cave of the Saint Ruler is the only area in this mountain range with any mystery to it. Tian Shuzi spoke. The predecessor living in that cave was extremely mysterious. Using the profound mysteries of the world, he was able to control the world so that an illusion would safeguard the location of his cave and allow the Saint Ruler to escape detection. In fact, the illusion array he put up was far too strong for even him to break. 100 years ago, this old man went to the cave to pay my respects to the predecessor, but his body had long since withered away to becoming a skeleton. Sire has entered the cave of the Saint Ruler? Jian Chen was startled before growing serious. He wanted that Saint Ruler's skeleton. This old man cultivates a method that can see the origin of everything. While the illusion array that predecessor put up is strong, it has no effect on me. With just a small amount of effort, I would be able to enter. But the items inside, I have never touched. The pure heart secrets doesn't allow me to be tempted by such things. So the wonders and treasures that lay in there may as well be sands and stone to me. Jian Chen let out a sigh in relief. Would it be possible for Sire to tell me where that cave would be? About 50 kilometers south from here, the cave lies at the bottom of a great valley. Tian Shuzi did not hide any details from Jian Chen and told him the exact coordinates. Many thanks for the information, Sire. Jian Chen spoke gratefully. That won't be necessary. Even if this old man didn't tell you, you would be able to find the cave after a small amount of effort. However, the cave is protected by an extremely strong illusion array. Only Saint Rulers would be able to enter it. Tian Shuzi informed him. This one will remember that. Sire, this one still has some matters to take care of. I will be taking my leave first. Now that Jian Chen knew the location of the Saint Ruler's cave, he had lost his patience to stay here and quickly bid farewell to Tian Shuzi. Tian Shuzi watched Jian Chen fly away from his window, and when Jian Chen fully disappeared, he whispered to himself, what a truly outstanding genius. If he was able to become a Heaven Saint Master at such a young age, then he is truly one of the strongest individuals on the continent. At the very least, he'll be the second coming of Mo Tianyun. Perhaps I should report this to the master of the sect. If he is able to bring him close, then the pressure from the guardian clans will lessen by a large amount. The pressure from the beast god continent wouldn't be as stifling either. Chapter 464, Illusion Array, 3, Traveling in accordance to the directions given to him by Tian Shuzi of the Pure Heart Pavilion, Jian Chen finally arrived at a great valley with a deep bottom. Jian Chen slowly descended toward the bottom of the valley. Tian Shuzi had said that the cave would be at the bottom of the valley with its exact position hidden in a way that would be hard to detect. Quickly, Jian Chen arrived at the bottom of the valley. There was a giant pool that exuded a chilling frost that permeated his entire body and bones like daggers. Jian Chen looked around the dark place he was in. The visibility here was quite poor, but it was not significant enough to hamper Jian Chen, who could still see around himself. But the valley was so expansive that even his eyes could not see the entirety of the area it covered. Even more so, a chilling frost covered the area, making finding a foothold extremely difficult. This is already the deepest part of the valley, where might the Saint Ruler's cave be? Jian Chen muttered to himself. When it came to the cave, he only knew the name, everything else was unknown to him. Even what the cave looked like was a mystery to him, combined with the fact that it was hidden, finding the cave would be an extremely difficult challenge. Jian Chen began to spread his omnipresence about himself to cover a 15-kilometer area. Even the places beneath the water were not hidden from him as he searched the valley for any hidden places or things. Jian Chen followed the walls of the valley as he floated in the air. Wherever he traveled, his omnipresence covered the entire area in an attempt to continue searching. Within this area of Jian Chen's presence, even the smallest ripple of energy would not go unnoticed. Hua! Right underneath the pool of water, a single water snake came leaping out of the water. Opening its jaws, the water snake came flying at Jian Chen in an attempt to bite him at a lightning-fast speed. Jian Chen's eyebrows knit together. He had noticed the water snake before, but for the sake of searching for the Saint Ruler's cave, he had ignored it. Thus, he was now annoyed by the snake's interruption. A frosty glow appeared in Jian Chen's eyes as he clutched at the sky. Suddenly, a large amount of the fire element began to gather around his hand before condensing to instantly form a giant sword made of flames. With a brilliant flash of red light, it flew toward the snake. The fire sword shot straight into the open jaws of the snake, causing it to explode from the reaction that followed. Parts of its body blew off and dispelled the nearby frost vapor from the heat of the explosion. In an instant, the previously cold area grew nice and warm. With a single thought, Jian Chen forced a single fist-sized crystal stone to fly through the mist and right into his hand. This was a Class 5 monster core. Although it was not as important to him as before, it was still worth a considerable amount. Jian Chen continued to trek through the valley while growing closer and closer to the pool of water until he was just a mere 20 meters above it. The distance was so small that the mist that was rising up from it began to dampen Jian Chen's previously dry clothing. Although the valley was extremely vast, Jian Chen had only taken 2 hours to search the entire valley. What disappointed him was the fact that he had not yet discovered the cave of the Saint Ruler. Jian Chen hovered in midair with a contemplative look. Suddenly, he looked to the water beneath him. Could it be underwater? At that thought, he immediately plunged into the water. Just as Jian Chen's body approached the water, the surface of the water suddenly split apart in two. Without a sound, it formed a giant crack. Jian Chen continued to descend into the body of water without any of the water spilling a drop onto his body. Instead, the water formed a ring around Jian Chen. The water was about 500 meters at its deepest, so Jian Chen quickly reached the bottom of the water. The temperature of this area was even colder than the surface, forcing Jian Chen to give a sigh of annoyance. An Earth Saint Master would have absolutely no chance of surviving down here. The frosty air was that big of a danger. It was so dark that any regular person wouldn't even be able to see their own fingers, but thanks to Jian Chen's omnipresence, it bore no effect on him. As he moved, Jian Chen continued to scour every single inch of the area. Although Jian Chen had already used his omnipresence to search the area above and below the water, the areas at the bottommost parts of the water were incredibly strange. Not only was it cold beyond belief, but it could even dampen Jian Chen's omnipresence. Because of that, Jian Chen didn't dare think that his search above the water was accurate. There were all sorts of monsters living within the abyss of the waters. However, even the strongest of these creatures was only Class 5 at the most. Therefore, they posed no threat to Jian Chen. Another 2 hours passed when Jian Chen had finished searching the entire area. However, like last time, there were no new discoveries or any clues to be seen. Flying out from the water, Jian Chen hovered over the surface of the chilly water with his eyebrows narrowed in concentration. He had originally thought that with his omnipresence, nothing would be able to escape his grasp and he would be able to pinpoint the Saint Ruler's cave without fail. But now that he had searched the entire place, Jian Chen had finally realized that the level of concealment the cave had was far stronger than he initially thought. Tian Shuzi said that the cave would be at the bottom of the valley. But why is it that after I've searched the entire place, I cannot find it? Jian Chen muttered in heavy concentration. Perhaps Tian Shuzi lied to me and the cave isn't located here. Perhaps this isn't the right valley he spoke of, meaning I am in the wrong place. All of a sudden, Jian Chen shot high into the air like an arrow, and floated overhead the valley. When he circled around the general area, he could not find a second valley. After some time, Jian Chen returned to his original position after looking 10 kilometers in the general area. There was only one valley. Returning to the bottom of the valley, Jian Chen looked at the chilly water deep in thought. The Saint Ruler's cave was truly too hidden for him to find. Now, Jian Chen was beginning to doubt whether or not if the cave was truly here. Master, Ziying knows where the cave you wish to find is. Suddenly, a single voice popped in Jian Chen's mind. The sword spirit Ziying had noticed the vexation Jian Chen was in and offered to help. Hearing this, Jian Chen revealed an overjoyed look on his face and immediately thought, Ziying, would you be able to tell me where the Saint Ruler's cave is? Yes, Master. The cave is protected by an array that separates it from the world. Master's omnipresence is far too weak to be able to detect the location. Ziying spoke. Ziying, please tell me just where the cave is located. Jian Chen could barely restrain the emotions flowing through to his face as he moved about impatiently. Chapter 465, Illusion Array, 4, Ziying, please tell me just where the cave is located. Jian Chen could barely restrain the emotions flowing through to his face as he moved about impatiently. Master, it is located 50 meters on the wall behind you. Ziying spoke. Hearing that, Jian Chen whirled around and walked to the location Ziying spoke of. There was a precipice where several weeds could be seen. From the outside, it looked rather normal and there was no cave that was visible. At the very least, Jian Chen couldn't sense anything strange from it. Master, there is an illusion array concealing the cave. If you attack the area and destroy the array, you'll be able to see the cave, Ziying told him. Jian Chen looked at the seemingly ordinary-looking wall with a curious expression. He couldn't believe that an illusion array would have such an amazing effect. Even with his eyes, he wasn't able to detect any abnormalities even with his omnipresence combing over it. Jian Chen swiped at the sky, causing the fire element in the world to gather and form a boiling hot fire sword. Shooting forward with his hand, Jian Chen struck the fire sword on the cliff wall. Bang! Following an extremely loud bang, the fire sword exploded against the cliff wall and filled the area with a burning hot heat wave. The temperature in the air soared as the flames evaporated the mist. Parts of the cliff had even broke off and splashed into the water below. After some time, the area cleared up and a single 3-meter hole became visible right in front of Jian Chen. However, nothing could be seen within it. Could it be that this is the Saint Ruler's cave? Jian Chen muttered. Using his omnipresence, he began to spread it inside the cave in an attempt to look inside. When his presence reached 5 meters in the cave, an unknown energy blocked it, preventing him from going any further. Master, there's still an illusion array guarding it. Ziying spoke to Jian Chen. The preventions put in place are quite strict. Jian Chen sighed. Back during the gathering of mercenaries, he had come across the cave of a saint ruler. However, that cave didn't have any protections as difficult as this one. It only had an unusually sturdy stone door blocking its path. The Saint Ruler's cave had provided an undeniable sense of enticement to Jian Chen. So without hesitation, he flew inside the jet-black cave and began to walk deeper in. Quickly, Jian Chen arrived at the illusion array that had blocked his omnipresence. Clutching his hand, the fire sword materialized in his hand once more. What left Jian Chen tongue-tied was the fact that when the sword drew close to the illusion array, it suddenly vanished without a trace. Master, this illusion array is borrowing the power of a space gate. Aside from attacks that are strong enough to bring the illusion array to its breaking point, it will not be destroyed. A feminine voice could be heard within his head. This time, it was Qingsua that spoke. Then what should I do? Jian Chen asked the sword spirit. This was the very first time he had come across an illusion array. He had never heard of such a thing before, so the existence of one was a complete mystery to him. He had no idea how to deal with it, causing him feel helpless. This illusion array borrows power from what a space gate is formed from. With the assistance of the world's power, the area within fluctuates and changes at will. It is also able to produce an endless amount of illusions to puzzle the eyes. But it cannot attack. So, unless one comes across a saint ruler, this illusion array will cause anyone that enters it to be completely isolated from the world. Qingsua spoke. Jian Chen hesitated for a moment before asking, Qingsua, then do you have a method for dealing with this illusion array? Master, although Ziying and Qingsua have used up most of our energy to break the illusion array, we can still see through it. As long as Master follows what we say, we will be able to pass through the illusion array. Qingsua almost looked proud as she replied. That's fine. I will listen to your instructions. Since things had gotten to such a stage, Jian Chen placed all his hopes on the two sword spirits. Master, first walk into the illusion array. Qingsua started Jian Chen off. Jian Chen felt completely at ease with Ziying and Qingsua and had no qualms of harm befalling him. So without hesitation, he walked into the illusion array that would be able to isolate him and his omnipresence. As soon as he stepped across, it was as if he had crossed worlds. Jian Chen felt the scenery around him begin to distort as he discovered that he was now standing in a desert. The sun was beating down on him heavily with its harsh rays, and the fine sand beneath him had started to bake his feet. It was as if he was standing on a burning red piece of metal. Master, this is all an illusion. The person behind this illusion had to rely on the power of the world to create it. Know that it's not real. Continue to walk forward slowly. Qingsua explained. Obeying her words, Jian Chen took a single step forward. Another step. Then, a third step. Finally, on his fourth step, the sands beneath his feet began to swirl around before forming a vortex that threatened to devour him whole. Quicksand. Jian Chen started. He subconsciously thought about using the energy of the world to force his way out before Qingsua and Ziying suddenly cried out to him. Master, don't fight it. Otherwise, you'll be transported to the outside by the power of the space gate. Ziying and Qingsua spoke at the same time. Hearing this, Jian Chen gave up any idea of resisting and allowed for the sand to submerge his body. It was pitch black underneath to the point where even Jian Chen couldn't tell east from west. After exiting the illusion array, Jian Chen found himself within the dark belly of the mountain. It was spacious all around him with only a single wooden house to be seen in the desolate area. Ziying, Qingsua, there shouldn't be any more illusions, correct? Jian Chen asked the sword spirits. The illusions had felt all too real to him to the point where Jian Chen could no longer distinguish between reality and delusions. This caused Jian Chen to doubt whether or not he was in reality. Master, we've exited from the illusion array. Whatever you see in front of you is real. Ziying spoke. Ziying's reply caused Jian Chen to relax and immediately revealed a smile on his face. After being thrown side to side for so long, he had finally arrived at his final destination. Quelling his excitement, Jian Chen stepped closer and closer to the wooden house in front of him. Just as Jian Chen exited from the illusion array, in the valley overhead, 5 bright lights could be seen flying toward the valley at an extremely fast speed. Finally, they came to a stop above the valley and looked down below. Among the 5, there were 4 elders and a middle-aged man. Each one wore a different color robe and had serious expressions on their faces. They also had a strong amount of power flicker off of their bodies. According to what that Heaven Saint Master from the Qiangan Kingdom said, the Saint Ruler's cave should be located here, 50 meters away from a precipice in a valley. This is the place. The middle-aged man spoke as he looked down. There's no differences between this place and the information we heard, this must be it. Let's go down and hope that the Heaven Saint Master wasn't lying to us. The elder spoke calmly. Ha, Elder Feng, you think too much. That Heaven Saint Master holds a special position within the Qiangan Kingdom and was the king of the previous times. He wouldn't dare lie to us, otherwise, he wouldn't be able to handle the consequences. Besides, he did not tell our Huang family this secret without conditions. Another elder laughed. Chapter 466, Remnants of the Saint Ruler, that is true. I am still not sure who this person they wish for us to kill is. The newly named Elder Feng spoke. Who cares about his identity? Once we take the items from the cave, we will head over to the Jesson Kingdom. I am sure we will be able to find that Heaven Saint Master quickly. After saying that, the 5 Heaven Saint Masters began to descend down into the valley. Soon enough, they hovered 50 meters above the chilly waters and started to inspect the place. Take a look here, there's a cave. An elder pointed in a certain direction in amazement. Turning to look at the pointed direction, they discovered that there was a cave around 3 meters tall with a pitch-dark entrance. Would it really be over there? Let's take a look. The 5 men simultaneously began to fly over to the entrance of the cave, arriving in the blink of an eye. Their surroundings were emitting a fierce energy that dragged them through the air. Do you sense that? The space here has a faint trace of the fire element. An elder stated with a frown. Seeing the others agree with him, an elder whose body radiated with the fire element spoke as well. That's correct, the fire element is indeed floating around this area. While it is quite faint, I can still sense it clearly. I suspect there was another person here not too long ago. The scratches around the cave entrance are fresh as well. Someone has indeed beaten us to this place first. There aren't many that know of this cave. If we're going off of what the Qiangan Kingdom's expert said, then there is a powerful illusion array concealing the cave. If we didn't know the definite position, we would have never been able to discover the secret of the area. Unfortunately, just several days ago, the cave of the Saint Ruler was revealed to the individual from the Jesson Kingdom. It appears that the one who beat us here is undoubtedly that same person. When you say it that way, I agree with you. Now that that person is here, we won't need to waste any energy traveling to the Jesson Kingdom. We can just kill him here and accomplish the condition the Qiangan Kingdom expert had stipulated onto us. Very well then. Instead of entering the cave, the 5 continued to float where they were and began to chat. Since that man is already inside, we just have to wait outside. This way, we won't waste any energy dealing with the illusion array inside. If he is defeated by the array, then he'll be sent outside. If he overpowers the array, he'll still come back here eventually, giving us the chance to kill him. We can take the remnants of the Saint Ruler from him, it would save us all some energy. Within the hollowed-out belly of the mountain was the cave of the Saint Ruler. It was quite dim and the air was damp with only several dozen night pearls serving as faint light sources within the dark area. There weren't any trees or grass in the cave, and aside from the illusion array and the wooden house, there was absolutely nothing else. From this, it could be inferred that the owner of the cave did not care for the environment and instead, only cared for the sake of his own cultivation. Jian Chen walked to the wooden house and began to look over it. The entire house was a dark color and felt as solid as tempered iron. Furthermore, he could sense that there was a considerable amount of energy flowing within the house. This energy clearly belonged to the existence that had lived within it for almost an eternity. At the very least, This house had stood for 1,000 years through the corrosion of time, yet still remained in good condition. Jian Chen looked at the wooden house with confused eyes before gradually growing serious. After all, this was where a saint ruler expert had lived. Although Jian Chen was a heaven saint master in strength, a saint ruler would still bring an unbelievable amount of pressure onto him. A heaven saint master understood the energy of the world, that was the reason why they were so different from an earth saint master. A saint ruler had already understood the mysteries of the world and could borrow their assistance of the world's power to create illusions that were hard to distinguish. Their strengths were such that they were many times greater than a heaven saint master's. The difference between a heaven saint master and a saint ruler was even larger than that of an earth saint master and a heaven saint master. The two ranks were worlds apart and could not be discussed together. Standing right outside the dark house, Jian Chen let out a sigh. Calming his heart of any emotions, he brought both his hands onto the ice-cold door and slowly pushed it open with all his strength. With a creaking sound, the doors began to open. The scenery inside appeared before Jian Chen's eyes. The very first thing that was visible to Jian Chen was a bed fashioned from iron along with a wooden table and a chair. From this, it could be seen that aside from the master of the house, there were no other guests. Inside the wooden house was a large abundance of energy that never seemed to fade. However, without entering the house, the existence of this massive energy would not be found. Perhaps it was because of this energy's existence that the inside of the house was extremely clean, as if someone swept it every day. Jian Chen walked into the wooden house and scanned around. It was rather ordinary looking, its simplicity was not like that of a normal person's home. Aside from the table, chair, and bed, there was nothing else there. This house didn't have just one room, the place Jian Chen was blankly standing in right now was only the living room. In one of the corners, there was a single doorway that connected deeper into the house. Gingerly, Jian Chen walked inside the house. But the moment he pushed open the door, a surge of energy diffused outwards, the pressure making Jian Chen's body grow heavier as if he was carrying a large and heavy stone on his back. Under the tremendous pressure of this weight, Jian Chen felt as if he was a small sailboat in the ocean, insignificant and unable to defend himself. Jian Chen looked forward only to see a crystalline skeleton sitting in a cross-legged position on the bed. The energy from this saint ruler was many times stronger than the amount of energy he had felt back in the gathering of the mercenaries. The mere aftermath of the first layer of released energy made Jian Chen feel an extremely great pressure. One wouldn't think that this was the cause of a skeleton. It seems that he had not yet reached the 9th layer when he was alive. Jian Chen muttered. In his heart, he was excited. Although it was only a skeleton, the energy within it was no weaker than a ruler armament. That to him was already a major profit since the skeleton would be able to be processed for chaotic force through the sword spirits. This way, he would be able to use the chaotic force one day. Carefully walking up to the skeleton, which was still radiating pressure, Jian Chen slowly placed the skeleton into his space ring. After the saint ruler's skeleton had disappeared, the remaining pressure that was weighing down on him instantly disappeared without a trace. After successfully obtaining the saint ruler's skeleton, Jian Chen's heart couldn't help but beat rapidly in extreme excitement. No matter if it was the saint ruler's skeleton or ruler armament, it was still a priceless, rarely seen treasure on the Tian Yuan continent. If someone were to grab hold of either one, then they would be able to ascend to even the heavens. A mediocre clan would rise up to become a great clan overnight. As for ruler armaments, they were viewed and kept as treasures passed down the clan members. Thus, it could be inferred that a ruler armament was no weaker than a saint ruler's skeleton. It had a high value as a treasure. After all, something like this could only be left behind by a saint ruler who had died. Afterward, Jian Chen discovered a silver space ring besides the empty spot where the skeleton used to be. The space ring didn't contain many things, most of them were hoarded items. But after rifling through it, Jian Chen found a single ancient scroll. The scroll was 2 meters in length and was yellow with age. However, it was still in perfect condition without any damage. Written on the scroll weighs plenty of words the size of tadpoles with just as many diagrams. Breathless, Jian Chen began to study the inner contents of the scroll with a face that revealed his excitement completely. This was a heaven-tier battle skill, a middle heaven-tier battle skill at that. Heaven Splitter. It used a strange method to circulate the Saint force from within, compressing it. It could then be brought forth as an explosive energy to assault the enemies. Its range was quite expansive and could be controlled manually. Heaven Splitter was much different from any of the heaven-tier battle skills Jian Chen was familiar with. All of the heaven-tier battle skills Jian Chen knew of used saint weapons as their medium and burst out with powerful energy to assault their enemies. However, with the Heaven Splitter, one could use both hands to send out saint force to perform a ranged attack on the enemy as the user desired. Secondly, the ancient scroll mentioned that if a first cycle Heaven Saint Master were to use Heaven Splitter, they would be able to easily destroy a mountain several hundred meters tall. From this, it could be determined that the battle skill was extremely strong. Jian Chen quelled the emotions raging within him as he put the Heaven Splitter scroll into his space ring. In his mind, he decided that the very first thing he would do when he returned home would be to give Heaven Splitter to Chang Wuji to learn. That was because Chang Wuji was the only Heaven Saint Master of the Changyang clan, having him learn it couldn't be more fitting. Plus, Chang Wuji had always been concerned with him and had silently served and protected the Changyang clan for many years. As for the others that he was familiar with, Jian Chen would have to think about them another time. Changyang Ba's strength was still only at the Great Saint Master level, so he couldn't learn a Heaven-tier battle skill. One had to at least be an Earth Saint Master to learn a Heaven-tier battle skill. Aside from Heaven Splitter, Jian Chen had also discovered a Heaven-tier cultivation method. Although it was Heaven-tiered, cultivation methods were mediocre in comparison to battle skills. Both the Changyang clan and Kargath Academy each had one. Despite that, Jian Chen didn't ignore it, since a powerful clan definitely wouldn't have just one type of cultivation method. Chapter 467, Meeting Elders Feng and Yun. Once more aside from Heaven Splitter, Jian Chen had also discovered a Heaven-tier cultivation method. Although it was also Heaven-tier, cultivation methods were mediocre in comparison to battle skills. Both the Changyang clan and Kargath Academy each had one. Despite that, Jian Chen hadn't ignored the cultivation method since a powerful clan wouldn't have just one type of cultivation method. People could only learn a single cultivation method, but when it came to the power of a clan, it was best to have more than one to choose from. After all, not every cultivation method was suitable for everyone. There weren't many valuable things in the space ring left behind by the Saint Ruler. Not a single monster core or coin could be seen, they were probably left behind in the Qiangan Kingdom. Aside from the Heaven-tier battle skill and cultivation method, there wasn't any other item that interested Jian Chen. After he finished looking through the contents of the space ring, Jian Chen searched the entire house once more. But in the end, he didn't find anything out of the ordinary. However, he did find that after he had taken the Saint Ruler's skeleton, the energy that was accumulated within the house had disappeared. Although this house had been created from wood and steel, it would be impossible to stay within this damp cave forever. Without the Saint Ruler skeleton's energy backing it up, the moment the energy assimilated in the house was drained off, the 1,000-year-old house would disappear from the world. Afterward, Jian Chen did one more sweep of the entire place. As there were still no profits to be found, he left the place. Leaving the area was much easier than entering it. The very moment he stepped into the illusion array, he felt the space within tremble before he was directly sent to the 3-meter in diameter, pitch-black passageway. Jian Chen took a deep breath before walking outside with a faint smile. In his heart, he thought, as expected, the Qiangan Kingdom didn't lie to me. There was truly a fully intact Saint Ruler's cave. Not only did I gain a Saint Ruler's skeleton containing great amounts of energy, I was able to receive a Heaven-tier battle skill and cultivation method. A bright light appeared in Jian Chen's line of vision. He quickly walked out of Saint Ruler's cave, arriving above the frigid lake at the bottom of the chilly valley. Just then, Jian Chen's expression suddenly changed. A light flared in his eyes, followed by a flash of pale cyan, as his body shifted 5 meters to the side. Whoosh! 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 5 ear-splitting sounds could be heard as 5 different strikes of sword chi came flying forward to bombard the spot Jian Chen had just stood in. The sword chi thundered down towards the center of the frigid lake, causing splashes everywhere. Jian Chen's face grew extremely unsightly. He abruptly lifted his head only to see that at some point, 5 figures had appeared above him. The 5 attacks just now had been sent out by them. The wind elements around Jian Chen's body suddenly became extremely powerful. His body shot up through the air like an arrow leaving a mystical bow. "Don't let him get away," one of the 5 men had cried out. The 5 of them immediately formed a ring in the air to form a blockade in an attempt to seal off all of Jian Chen's possible escape paths. At the same time, 5 sword chi strikes were shot towards Jian Chen once more. Jian Chen's eyes revealed a bright glow as 5 separate swords made of fire formed around his chest. Then, they transformed into 5 furious dragons radiating intense, scorching heat that collided with the sword chi. Bang! The sky burst out with a fierce explosive boom as the energy from the fire elements filled the entire sky and valley. The aftermath of the explosion rebounded off both the walls of the valley and fractured them into multiple spiderweb-like cracks. This continued to repeat until the cliff faces on both sides had countless large and thick cracks in them. The entire valley shuddered under the blow, causing several stones to fall off and drop into the cold waters below. Jian Chen charged upwards from below the cliff, not running away like the 5 Heaven Saint Masters had thought he would. Instead, he floated up to an equal level with them. "Who are you?" Jian Chen asked in a low voice. His eyes glowed brightly with a fierce killing intent toward the 5 as his gaze swept past the. However, when he looked to 2 of the men in the middle, his eyes suddenly widened with some shock. Jian Chen's mind suddenly thought back to several years ago right in front of Wake City. He had been washing himself carelessly when he had come across Huang Wuan. Afterward, he had fought with the 2 strong individuals Huang Wuan had called Uncle Feng and Uncle Yun. Weren't these 2 men right in front of him the same men from long ago? Despite the time that had passed since then, Jian Chen could still recognize them. "It's you. So it's you." The moment when Jian Chen had recognized the two elders recognized him as well. With their eyes largening in surprise, shock began to register across their faces. The other 3 men took notice of the shock on their faces. One of them quickly asked, "Elder Feng, Elder Yun, do you 2 know him?" Neither of the elders seemed to have heard the question and continued to look at Jian Chen. With a quavering voice, one spoke, You stepped into the realm of the Heaven Saint Masters." At that moment, both of the elders' hearts were storming with emotions. When it came to Jian Chen, they were no stranger to him and had a deep impression of him. Because of their negligence in Wake City, a mere great saint had been able to steal a glance at their Huang Wuan bathing. Their precious Huang Wuan had been seen by a man for the very first time, and when they had struck out at Jian Chen, they had been injured by his azure and violet sword spirits. This had greatly shocked them. Afterward, during the gathering of the mercenaries half a year ago, they'd seen Jian Chen's display at the arena. At that time, it was extremely shocking to them. Before that time, Jian Chen had only been a great saint. They hadn't thought that in 4 years of time, Jian Chen would have risen at an unbelievable rate and become an Earth Saint Master. This type of strength was practically unheard of before. Plus, they had also heard from Huang Wuan that Jian Chen had been tried during the gathering of the mercenaries. When the lunar bow of the Huang clan had nearly been stolen by the Shi family, it had been because of Jian Chen that the lunar bow had been preserved at the very last moment. Thus, Jian Chen had earned the ire of the powerful Shi family. And now, Half a year later, Jian Chen had unexpectedly skyrocketed from being an Earth Saint Master to a Heaven Saint Master. An unbelievable speed like this left the two elders tongue-tied and heavy-hearted. Elder Feng, Elder Yun, who is he? Do you two know him? Another person asked. The elders gave a sigh before slowly steeling their nerves. He is Jian Chen, the very same Jian Chen that earned the #1 spot in the gathering of the mercenaries. What? He is Jian Chen. Hearing that, the other three men revealed looks of shock as they again shifted their gazes back at Jian Chen. Those who participated within the gathering of the mercenaries had to be below 50 years old in age. If Jian Chen had participated in that, then he was no doubt younger than that. By this point, it had only been half a year since the gathering of the mercenaries. Having said that, this meant that the youth in front of them had reached the Heaven Saint Master realm before the age of 50. Within the Tianyuan continent, a progress speed as fast as this could only mean that he was an unparalleled genius. Jian Chen, why are you here? Elder Yun asked in surprise. Jian Chen stared at everyone with a blank expression. Such a phrase like that should be asked by me. Why are you here, and why act against me just now? Hearing this, Elder Yun's gaze moved to the entrance of the Saint Ruler's cave with a twinkling light. He quickly connected the dots, quietly spoke with a heavy expression. I hadn't imagined that the person the Qiangan Kingdom's Heaven Saint Master had been talking about was Jian Chen. Although the elder had spoken in a soft voice, Jian Chen had heard it clearly. His eyes began to blaze with a fearsome glare as he asked, Did Qian Yun tell you the location of the Saint Ruler's cave? Correct, a Heaven Saint Master from the Qiangan Kingdom had told us about the Saint Ruler's cave. In exchange, he told us to take the life of a certain person. The middle-aged man spoke without expression, but his gaze held a hint of a cold light as he looked at Jian Chen. Jian Chen's mouth quirked to form a cold smile as his glare dropped several degrees. I didn't think that the Qiangan Kingdom would deal such a hand. If they want you to kill someone, it is surely me. Correct. The same middle-aged man expressionlessly replied. Jian Chen looked at that man and asked, Now that I am here, what will you do now? Anger filled the man's heart. He coldly snorted and said, The promises our Huang family make must be fulfilled. No matter who you are, you will not leave today. No. Elder Yun and Elder Feng cried out, Jian Chen has been a benefactor to our Huang family. If not for him, our Salunar Bao would have been stolen by the Shi family. Furthermore, he has saved the life of our young miss. Elder Yun, that is only the miss side of the story. We don't know what happened in that isolated space during the tournament where we cannot differentiate between falsity and truth. Who knows whether or not the young miss words are true? The middle-aged man fired back in argument. Then surely Shi Xiangran's death must be true to you. Elder Feng replied, clearly on Jian Chen's side. And what can Shi Xiangran's death prove? It doesn't say for sure whether there were personal feelings of gratitude or resentment between Jian Chen and Shi Xiangran. The man justified. The two elders glanced at each other, the expressions turning extremely ugly. After realizing that their target was Jian Chen, the two had a change of plans. Even if they were to brave the aftermath of damaging their clan's reputation, they didn't wish to make a move against Jian Chen. Not only was he a genius, but he had been a benefactor to their family. This was more than enough for the two elders to do so. Furthermore, he and Huang Wan had a strange sort of connection between them. However, their wishes did not speak for the entire group. The middle-aged man's attitude, in particular, made it hard for them to act. Chapter 468, Retreat of the Huang family. At that moment, one of the other elders observing the situation spoke, Jian Chen, when you entered the Saint Ruler's cave, did you take any of the items in there? Correct, I've taken the items within. Jian Chen didn't hesitate to speak without any complaint. Although he was against 5 Heaven Saint Masters, he wasn't afraid. Then there's nothing else worth talking about. Everyone, let us kill him for the sake of our mission. The reputation of our Huang family cannot be harmed by something like this. Otherwise, if our patriarch finds fault, who will take the blame? One of the men spoke. At the mention of their patriarch, the other 4 men showed startled looks on their faces. They must be afraid of him. Absolutely not. Jian Chen is a friend to our Huang family. If you continue to act in such a way, then the patriarch will definitely find fault within us. Our Huang family is not a family that would commit such an ingratitude to a friend. Elder Feng spoke harshly. I agree. The Selunar Bao is extremely vital to our Huang family. Our patriarch personally bore witness to the gathering of the mercenaries and had even inquired the young miss for her side of the story. I'm sure that the young miss has already explained everything in detail to Jaime. If not for Jian Chen's help, our Huang family would not have the Selunar Bao anymore. It is for that reason that Jian Chen is our benefactor. If you wish to continue to fulfill the mission from the Qiangan kingdom, then our Huang family will truly be known as one who violates justice. Our patriarch would not forgive us for this. Elder Yun, Elder Feng, you two need not try to frighten me. I've already said before, the young miss may not be speaking the truth. The middle-aged man asserted his thoughts without relenting. Huang Junran, Huang He, what are your thoughts on this matter? Elder Feng asked the 2 other impartial men. The 2 elders went silent for a moment before Huang Junran spoke up. Elder Feng, Elder Yun, Elder Yan, the 3 of you speak with reason, but the items within the Saint Ruler's cave are of extreme importance to us and thus we cannot afford to let them go. Jian Chen, how about this? You give us the items you found in the cave and we will not make things difficult for you. We don't require much, just the Saint Ruler's skeleton will do. A single Saint Ruler's skeleton at the 5th layer is something that our patriarch has a great use for. Elder Huang He spoke. If they could bring back the skeleton, the strength of their patriarch would increase several times over, while the rest of the items in it were essentially dispensable. Their Huang family had a clear idea of how strong the Saint Ruler who had lived in the cave along with what his identity was, so they didn't think that there would be any other item worth their notice. Hearing these 2 speak, Jian Chen gave a cold smile. You should give up on such a notion. The skeleton of the Saint Ruler will not be given to you. Jian Chen, you should learn to accept a toast when it is given to you. Don't think that becoming the king of mercenaries has given you power beyond belief. To the Huang family, if we want to kill you, it would be as easy as squashing an ant. The middle-aged man spoke dangerously. Jian Chen's face grew dark as the sheen in his eyes grew colder. With a terrifying and malicious glare, Jian Chen spoke to the middle-aged man, then do you think that I, Jian Chen, will kill you with the very same ease of stepping on an ant? How shameful, you will die here. The man's temper was clearly quite bad. He became infuriated by Jian Chen's stinging remarks. Immediately, he brought out his saint weapon and charged at Jian Chen. Jian Chen's hand clutched at the empty air, causing a sword made of the fire element to materialize. With a wave of his hand, the sword immediately shot toward the middle-aged man with a sweltering temperature. With a loud shout, the man's saint weapon came crashing down on the fire sword, causing an explosion. The fire sword was instantly disintegrated by the man's saint weapon and gave a final burst of fire that dyed the area red. The middle-aged man did not falter in speed. His saint force continued to protect his body from the sea of flames as he quickly arrived in front of Jian Chen. His sword was ready to pierce Jian Chen's chest. A layer of azure and violet light began to appear in Jian Chen's right hand before forming a 1.3-meter-long glow. Grasping the origin energy of the sword spirits, Jian Chen clashed weapons with the middle-aged man. There was a crisp sound as the middle-aged man's saint weapon chipped away to reveal a jagged piece of the saint weapon fall to the ground. With his saint weapon damaged, the middle-aged man's face suddenly blanched. A moment later, blood splattered out from his mouth. Hurriedly flying backward, the man looked at Jian Chen in utter surprise. The moment when the 2 men had clashed was observed by the 4 other men. When the middle-aged man's sword tip had broke off, the other four couldn't help but feel their hearts leap widely. The startling azure and violet glows of light in Jian Chen's hand were of an unknown energy to everyone. The middle-aged man flew 30 meters backward through the air before stabilizing himself. His pale face looked to the azure and violet ray of light in Jian Chen's hand before crying out, "What is that energy? Why is it so strong?" Jian Chen stared emotionlessly at the middle-aged man before speaking. "Fact of the matter is, if I wanted to kill you, it would be as easy as stomping on an ant. Right now, you have no chance of taking the Saint Ruler's skeleton from me." Despite being from the Huang family, the middle-aged man was trying to humiliate Jian Chen. There was no way he would easily forgive him. The middle-aged man had a sickening color to his face, but soon enough he looked back at Jian Chen with a renewed expression of fury. "The Saint Ruler's skeleton is extremely important to our patriarch. We cannot just let it go. Elders, let us three fight together to kill him." Huang Junran and Huang He hesitated for a moment. In the previous moment, they hadn't thought of Jian Chen as anyone important. Although Jian Chen was a heaven saint master, he was not a major threat to the Huang family. However, now that they had personally bore witness to Jian Chen's origin energy and its might, they could no longer look at Jian Chen in the same light as before. The origin energy of the azure and violet sword spirits could easily damage a heaven saint master's saint weapon. That was an ultimate threat to their life. The tremendous power that Jian Chen controlled in his hand was enough for them want to not offend him or even go against him as an enemy. "Fellow elders, what are you hesitating about? Could it be that you don't realize just how important the Saint Ruler's skeleton is for our patriarch?" The middle-aged man urged them. He didn't dare fight Jian Chen by himself. With that origin energy of Jian Chen, he was completely afraid of fighting him. "Elder Yan, I think that this matter should be discussed with the patriarch. Elder Yun and Elder Feng are correct in their words. Jian Chen has done a favor for our Huang family. We cannot conduct such a behavior toward him like this." Huang Junran suddenly spoke, clearly not willing to be an enemy of Jian Chen's. "And, that is right. I have that notion as well." Huang He spoke. The middle-aged man, now named Elder Yan, had a disbelieving look on his face as he stared at the two elders. He quickly realized that both elders had a change of plans and he instantly swallowed the fury in his unwilling heart. If the two elders did not fight with him as a three-man party against Jian Chen, there was no chance to win. If they didn't join him and he continued to fight alone, then he would be no opponent for Jian Chen. In the end, he would be the only one to eat a loss. "Jian Chen, Yan Lai, will remember this." The man spat out. With that, he didn't even address the other four elders and quickly turned to leave the area. Huang Junran and Huang He left the area as well without a word, leaving both Elder Yun and Elder Feng behind. Both elders gave Jian Chen a complicated look for a moment, before Elder Feng spoke. "Jian Chen, ever since your participation at the gathering of the mercenaries, the young miss has grown quite silent. Sometimes, she has a faraway stare in her eyes. If you have time, please come visit our Huang family. Whatever transpired in the isolated space is something our entire family wishes to know about. Our family leader and patriarch especially wish to thank you. If there is time in the future, I will most certainly come pay a visit." Jian Chen cupped his hands together. Elder Yun let out a sigh of relief before offering an apology. "Jian Chen, the matter from a few years ago was our fault. The two of us wish to offer our apologies in hope that you will forgive us." Jian Chen gave a free smile as he spoke. "If we speak of that matter, then it was my fault. The unhappiness between Huang Wan and I has been resolved during our time in the isolated space. The two elders needn't worry." Hearing this, both elders had a happy smile on their faces. "Jian Chen, my friend, we must return home now, so we bid you goodbye. We will definitely make sure to report this to our patriarch and avoid having Elder Yan Lai make matters worse." Jian Chen laughed as he brought his hands together. Then if the elders could please give Miss Huang Wan my greetings. Ha ha ha, Jian Chen my friend, these words I will definitely convey to her. One of the elders laughed. In the next moment, they both transformed into two bright light and disappeared into the sky. Watching the two elders go, Jian Chen had no thoughts of retaliating against the Huang family. Not only did he have a connection with Huang Wan, but the Huang family was quite strong in power, and even Jian Chen feared them at this moment. This was because the Huang family had a saint ruler which would pose a problem to Jian Chen. In an instant, Jian Chen's face took on a freezing cold glare as his eyes began to flash with killing intent. Qiangan Kingdom, you truly do scheme so sinisterly. Fine, I will play along with you. He muttered, you're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.